Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, live on the Woodward Sports Network. Every day, 2 to 4 p.m. Starring Ryan Ermanni, Michigan great and former NFL baller Braylon Edwards, and of course, Tom Mazawey. Let's talk some sports.
And welcome to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, Thursday, May 4th. It's actually a pretty beautiful day outside as opposed to the rain and cloudiness we've had for about a month now. But it's still good to be here. I am Flannel Sam, of course, filling in for the great Ryan Ermanni. And the man to my right in his custom Tigers jersey is the one, the only Braylon Edwards.
What's going on, man? I had to represent for my boys, man. They got 2 wins yesterday.
Let's go.
2 big wins yesterday, and they did it in 2 different ways, man. They got to win. They stayed in the game in the first one of the doubleheader, stayed in the game, came out early. They were winning. Then they got behind, stayed in the fight, and they ended up winning. And last night, Maz, they beat the hell out of Max Scherzer.
Yes, they did. Michael Lorenzen did a hell of a job there, Flannel. And they're going at it again. They're whipping up on JV right now down at Comerica Park. Hey,
back-to-back
you know I always rep the Tigers. Today I'm repping the Mets. Trying to bring them a little luck. Maybe they can squeeze a win out of here one of these days. Not here, obviously.
You know what? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother.
And you know, we always talk about the Tigers this season, how they're not any good, how they're not going to do anything, how Al Avila basically destroyed the franchise, and now they're starting anew with Scott Harris. I think we all believe in him. But no matter what, I will never poo-poo a series win if they can sweep the New York Mets, a team that's probably going to make the playoffs, and do it while beating Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander back-to-back, 2 of the biggest stars in recent Detroit Tiger history.
Yeah.
That would be phenomenal. And it's looking like they might do it. It's still 2-0 in the top of the 4th inning. I cannot wait to see how this one goes. We'll be kind of reacting in real time.
Not to mention, they do have Pete Alonso as well as Lindor. Lindor hit home run yesterday. So they're fully loaded with the exception, obviously, of Edwin Diaz. But they're a fully loaded team right now that we're whooping up on. Ryan Ermanni says it best. Shout out to Ryan. We miss you. We'll see you. Blessings to you and the family. He says it best. Just keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Like, just keep me interested through May and June and July and August. Like, you guys don't have to necessarily get into the playoffs. You don't have to win the World Series. But just win some games so that when a game comes on, I don't have to immediately turn the channel. When someone offers, hey, what you doing this Thursday? Tigers are playing it at 7. What are you thinking? You know what? I will go see the Tigers. Keep it interesting. Keep people's attention. That's all they got to do.
Absolutely, and the way that they did it, back-to-back Jacks, Javi Baez and Riley Green. I mean, the Tigers need Riley Green to be good, obviously. And Javier Baez, whether you like him or not, I certainly have not liked what he's done with the Tigers. No. They're pretty much stuck with him, so he might as well play better. And he has lately, of course.
Since they got benched.
Yep.
Since he got benched, he's playing like the Javi Baez that we know for the most part.
Absolutely, he has.
Speaking of New York, Maz, today I felt old. Like, today I had an old moment, and I know I'm talking to someone that's older than me, but it's okay for me to have an old moment.
Of course.
I was watching a press conference, and it was Sauce Gardner. Shout out to Sauce Gardner, Detroit, King High School, as well as Cincinnati, defensive rookie of the year last year.
Yes.
I'm watching him, and he was at the game with Aaron Rodgers, and he was talking about not knowing who Jessica Alba was.
Yeah.
How do you not know who Jessica Alba was? I felt so old in that moment. I remember her movies weren't the best, but you don't watch the movies for her acting skills per se. But then it hit me and it dawned on me, I guess she has been out of the public eye for the last 15 years. She's been making all that money in organic baby products. I think she's worth like $400 million. But
whoa.
Yeah, she's worth all that. Jessica Alba's like worth $400 to $500 million off all organic baby products.
Wow.
Like whether it's the diapers, whether it's just anything in the baby's room.
Good for her.
100%. But still, Jessica Alba, man, that's like Maxim magazines. Like you take me back to college. It was it.
Yeah.
Oh man, Honey.
Oh yeah, no. When I was younger,
was cold.
when I was coming up, when I was in like 7th or 8th grade and whatnot, kind of in those years, Jessica Alba was kind of the it girl. She was the it girl. She was one of my first celebrity crushes. I remember going to Into the Blue.
Yeah.
That was that movie that I went to.
Paul Walker.
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
I didn't go for the storyline. I
Not at all.
Because Jessica Alba was in there. JB, I know that you're about the same age as me. Where you remember Jessica Alba? She was the it girl back then, wasn't she?
She was definitely the it girl. I gotta give it to Braylon. Maxim FH.
Oh, yep, FHM.
magazine.
Look at you.
King magazine. I don't know if you guys remember her TV series Dark Angel.
Oh, Dark Angel.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at JB pulling it up.
I was a fan of that show.
Yeah, no, she was definitely, Jessica Alba was that whip. She was amazing. And she also, back in that time, there was a lot of, what do you call them, the vixens, if you will. Like, she just was great energy. Like, it wasn't just she looked bad. Like, she
was
looked
more like a hometown girl.
Exactly. She just looked cool. Even the movies, even the roles she took, like Honey. She's a dance instructor in the inner city. She's kicking it with, like, she always had that great personality. So shout out to Jessica Alba. I couldn't believe
For all you
that
Gilligan Island fans, she was a Marianne.
Oh, when they did the
show.
Yeah.
No
100%. 100%.
No show.
Side notes. Second thing that I heard that struck me today, and I'm sorry, Sam, for taking over, but Patrick Beverley, every time something comes out of his mouth, we know that it's going to be controversial. We know it's going to be entertaining. He said he ran into Russell Westbrook, and I want to ask you, what do you guys think about this? Ran into Russell Westbrook last night, saw him at the gym, and Russell says to him, now, can we believe everything Pat Bev says? Grain of salt. But he says, if the Lakers win it all, he wants a ring as well. Patrick Beverley played 45 games. I believe Russell Westbrook played 45 games as well. Didn't make it through the whole season, and they weren't good when they were there. What do you feel about Russell Westbrook or the Lakers giving him a ring if they win?
You know what? Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley, they really got some
Did you
nerve.
say brick?
That was a Freudian slip, right? You know what? Because that's what he did a lot of times when he played with the Los Angeles Lakers.
True.
I'll tell you what. When Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley were there, the Lakers were on their way to being out of the playoffs, out of the play-in altogether. What really sparked that team was getting rid of them, bringing in guys like Rui Hachimura and Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt and the likes, D'Angelo Russell. They were as responsible as anybody for the Lakers' downfall at the beginning. When you have a LeBron James team, you need to surround your team with shooters. And for whatever good, I would say good in quotation marks, that Patrick Beverley and Russell Westbrook bring, they nullify it completely because they're just very, very poor three-point shooters. So absolutely not. They would not even be a playoff team if they were still on there. Get the F out of here.
I'm glad I asked you first because I know your love for LeBron, so I know you hated Russ. Maz, what do you think? 45 games apiece.
Yeah,
do you think they deserve a ring?
Well, I don't think it matters. They're not going to win a ring.
Max, can you play along? If the Lakers win,
yes, they get a ring.
You think so?
Yes.
JB, what do you think?
They were on the team. You get a ring.
Okay, JB, what do you think?
Yeah, it's only fair. If you're on the team, you get the ring. But as Matt said, they're not winning.
Okay, Fletch, you want to contribute to this one? Do they get a ring? Should they get a ring?
I'll give you the best answer. I don't care. I think the NBA sucks. I don't enjoy watching it.
That is definitely the best
Mute
answer
this
that
man.
we could have hoped
Boo
for.
this man.
I personally don't think they deserve one.
Thank you.
Because I think basketball, NHL, baseball are different sports. You're talking about trading at the halfway point. When they got those guys off the team, the Lakers were in the dumps. LeBron was about to call the season over with his foot injury. It was over for those guys. They were the worst team in the league, and now they come back after those guys. Like you said, the people that they added, they're now a 7 seed, and now they have a chance to win it. So I wouldn't give it to them. I was in a similar situation, and that's why I asked the question. When I was with the 49ers, they cut me, I want to say, right after Christmas in 2011. 2011, they go on and get to the NFC Championship. And if you remember, Maz, that's the game against the Giants where the 49ers had the ball with a chance to seal the deal. But Kyle Wilson, punt returner, fumbles. They pick the ball up, they score, and then the Giants go on to win the Super Bowl for the second time against the Patriots. I would have gotten a ring. I would have gotten a ring.
Yeah, you would've.
I would have gotten a ring in that. And they told me, like, hey, you still get a ring. I wouldn't have wanted it, though. Like, I wouldn't have won it because I didn't feel like I necessarily contributed. I got injured that year. I came late to training camp because they picked me up late. So I wouldn't have wanted the ring. And I think that's the same for these guys. I think it might have been a joke from Russell Westbrook. Pat Bev probably wants the ring for real because he really wants to have it in his case. Say, look, I told you I was going to help those guys get a ring before the season started. Westbrook, I think he might have misinterpreted those words because he's such a competitor. I can't see him just trying to grab a ring that he didn't win.
Don't forget, he was there. Wasn't he there when LeBron broke the record?
He was. Yeah, he was. He was.
I think he was still there.
Was Russ there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was.
I think they might have gotten rid of him right before he broke the record because I think they focused so much on AD.
I remember AD just coming from the bench,
sitting on the bench,
sitting from the tunnel going to the bench. I don't know. I thought he was there. I just thought last year he was there. This year he started there. If they win, I think it's an honorable thing for them to give him a ring. He's been here in the NBA doing great things.
Yeah,
he did. He did a lot of great things.
I mean, you raised a valid point. He's done a lot of good things. I think too, he got signed early on last year, so it was a lot of off-season work that he put in with that team. They asked him to come off the bench, he did it. They asked him to start, he did everything they asked him to do. So if they wanted to give him a ring, kind of like how Matt Barnes got a ring with the Golden State Warriors, then I'm all for it. I personally would accept it, but never wear it. Like, it would just sit in the safe, or it would sit in a memoir case or something like that.
Westbrook was there actually when LeBron broke the record.
He was? In that case, he deserved a ring. He deserved a ring.
They traded him the next day, though.
We just wanted
It
to
was
see.
the next day, right? Yeah.
Oh,
The next day.
I knew it was close.
No, the funny thing about Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley is obviously they weren't very good for the Lakers, but to be fair, I think they both played a lot better on the teams that they were dealt to. I think Patrick Beverley played a pretty significant role for the Bulls, even though I'm not a huge fan of him, but they definitely need a veteran presence. And in the playoffs, Russell Westbrook in a couple of the games when Kawhi and Paul George was out, he was the best player on the team.
He was. I mean, he had 34 in the first game. I want to say I think he had 37 in the third game of the opening series against the Suns. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, but I think just coming off ball for him, like being an off-ball guard and then coming off the bench, he's never done that in his life. Sometimes when you ask someone to do something, it sounds good on paper. It sounds good. Hey, we'll just have Russell come off the bench and he can be off guard. If you've never done something, sometimes you don't want to do it.
And you know what's funny? I love that conversation too, because if the Lakers actually do win a ring, I don't care who the hell gets it. All I know is I will probably
LeBron gets another one.
I will be probably the most insufferable person on the network the rest of the day. People like Jack Harrington, all the people in the chat, you are not going to want to watch any show that I'm on the next day, because not only am I a LeBron fan, I'm also a staunch AD defender. Everyone calls him Data Davis and all that stuff, but Anthony Davis, we forget, in that 2020 playoff run, 28, 10, and 4 on very good efficiency.
Because he had 3 months of rest.
That's fair, but so did everybody else.
He had 3 months
so
of
did
rest.
everybody else.
And he was staying in the hotel room, right? Wasn't that the COVID year?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a COVID
Except
year.
for when they were sneaking out for wings.
Exactly. But he was staying at home, not doing anything.
I can't wait till later because I'm gonna see you two guys debate about the same topic, man. LeBron versus Steph. Ladies and gentlemen, it is gonna be on fire. Stephen Curry in that corner, LeBron James over there.
And I think I'm gonna get the better of this one, but you know we'll talk about that
talk
later.
More.
We have a jam-packed show, though. We've got lots of pretty big names that are high on the Detroit Lions draft. We got Hunter Dickinson transferring and choosing where he is going to transfer. That is something that I think that Michigan fans and Michigan alums, there's sort of a divide about that. We will talk about that as well, maybe get into some NHL playoffs, and hopefully by the end of this show, we will see the Tigers put the finishing touches on a sweep of the New York Mets, but obviously time will tell.
I tell you what, man, speaking of Draisaitl and the NHL playoffs, you like how I just went right to him. You can't score 4 goals in the playoffs. Everybody that scores 4 goals, their teams lose. Draisaitl scores 4, they lose, and someone else did it the night before and they
Dallas
lost.
Stars, Joe
Dallas
Pavelski.
Stars. Don't score 4 goals. If somebody gets 3, if they get the hat trick, pull them out the game, coaches. Jesus Christ.
That was a hell of a game.
Man, so you hit me. I turned it on right after you said that it was one of the most amazing opens.
Yes.
I turned it on, and it was they went to a penalty in the first 7 seconds, and they're the most lethal team against.
Oilers, great power play for the
They
Oilers.
scored 10 seconds later.
Yep.
And then Golden Knights, they scored 3 minutes later. So it was a good game now. 6-4. The Golden Knights take it. Golden Knights take it.
Absolutely. And to be honest, nobody really wants to see the Las Vegas Golden Knights over the Edmonton Oilers. It would be so good for hockey if we could see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl advance as far.
Fast.
I know, though. I mean, Connor McDavid might end up being the individual GOAT by the time it's said and done. He's on that trajectory for sure. And we're gonna take a break right now. Coming up next, a certain guy on NFL Network really loves what Brad Holmes and the Lions are doing. We got sound of that. Find out who. But first, Maz, if you got a big project, who you call?
You know it. It's Alta. Alta Equipment. Uptime matters at Alta. Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, give Alta Rental a call today at 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO, the number 2, Alta.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice. One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
And welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam filling in for Ryan Ermanni. We got Braylon Edwards, Tom Mazawey in the Maz chair. We've got JB in the sound booth and Fletch in the technical director's booth. So we have all known that basically since last Thursday, and even before the NFL draft just came and went, but it's still been the most all-consuming topic. It's pretty much at this network and at a lot of other networks around the country.
Can you believe it's a week already?
I can't believe it's a week.
Wow.
I know. And I'm
just last Thursday, we were at Fifth Avenue.
We were at Fifth Avenue. And the funny thing about this draft is, and Maz, I think you will agree with me, when we first heard of the picks, I was on air with you for the first round coverage, for the last part of it. There were some mixed emotions, I would say. I would say that it kind of went down a little. It didn't go down easy, but as time has passed, as they did the second, third round, and the rounds and the later rounds, I think this draft has been easier to stomach as time has gone on. There is NFL Network's Scott Pioli.
Strong word.
Yes, NFL Network's Scott Pioli. He loves what Brad Holmes and the Lions are doing. Hear what he says right now.
Let's start here, Scott. With which general manager do you feel like sent the clearest with their draft haul?
Well, I think that Brad Holmes and the Detroit Lions sent a very clear message once again about how they want to build for now and how they want to build for the future. They are all about being a blue-collar team. When you look at them in the first round, they picked a running back at number 12 overall to make sure that they can run the ball this year and in the future. That also led to the trade of DeAndre Swift that makes a lot of sense. Then you go into the next round, they take the first linebacker off the board with their second pick, inside linebacker Jack Campbell. After that, it was a tight end, Sam Laporta, also from Iowa, and then safety Brian Branch from Alabama. What they're showing is that this is their toughness, this is who they want to be. They are going to play like their city looks. And then what I really liked was that they went and took a developmental quarterback. Very thoughtful, smart move by Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell to make sure that they have a potential replacement for Jared Goff in the future. Hendon Hooker is a very good player. He needs some time, to get healthy, but also to develop. I look at this draft and I think to myself, they weren't sexy, they weren't full of a lot of sizzle, but they picked a lot of good players, again, that represent the kind of ball that they want to play. That's Brad Holmes. That's Dan Campbell. You have to remember, Brad Holmes was not a skilled player in college. He was a down and dirty defensive tackle, not the pass rush kind of defensive tackle. This is who they are and how they want to do it now and in the future.
Hey, man, Scott Pioli, man, watch how he talks about Detroit, man. Okay, it sounds like he was taking some shots, man. He wants a player that looks like our city. What did he mean by that? No, I'm just joking.
Hard-nosed.
100% I'm joking. Yeah. Obviously, like the Steelers. When you think of the Steelers and the type of city Pittsburgh is, their team goes exactly with that. And I understand that 100%. It's one of those drafts where you just have to take a step back and take a look at it. What's the goal here? What's the end game? Why these players? Why these moves? And they're definitely getting players that are going to play. Definitely getting players that want to fit this mold. Definitely getting players that come to play, and they'll get paid later. They're not worried about that, so I understand that. But they got the players that they wanted, and we've been talking about this since Monday. They got the players that they wanted. They got the running back that they wanted, Jahmyr Gibbs. They were able to move back to get him. They got the player they wanted, Jack Campbell. I mean, this is about to be, we talk about the Philadelphia Bulldogs. This is about to be the Detroit Hawkeyes in a second, but they got the guy in Jack Campbell that they wanted. They got Brian Branch. Brian Branch is an excellent pick. I think that's the pick that everybody says is their favorite pick. When you break down what he is, he's a guy that does not miss. He's short fire in the slot. Actually plays. He could cover the slot receiver. He could cover the tight end as well. He's also a damn good hitter. He's a hard-nosed hitter. So he definitely got some players that fit what the Detroit Lions identity is. They had the best draft because they got the players they wanted. And when you look at it, $69 million, I keep going back to that number, $69 million is what they're on the hook for their rookie draft class compared to teams like, who is it at 106? The Texans 90 million, the Seahawks. So $69 million to get all the players you wanted, not 69 and you got a couple of players. You got the players and the $69 million. He's doing it the way he wants to do it. He's winning.
By the way, Scott Pioli, 3-time executive of the year. I do love what he said. I
was just giving him. I was joking with him.
No, I just wanted to say, I like what he says. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put it on the rundown. I think the guy knows his stuff, and to hear him talk in such glowing terms here, what the Lions have been doing, warms my heart. We all want these guys to be the guys, and like Sam said, we were all shocked. Hell, Braylon almost fainted when they made that pick. Okay, we all know that.
Just one pick. Just one.
I know, but Jack Campbell, I really believe, will lead the team in tackling here. If not this year, the following year, and years going forward. And I know, Anzalone was on top of tackles as well in the past couple of years, and he's not one of our favorite guys. But he's a guy that these guys like. That's all I meant.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And I keep saying the same thing. They got the guys they like. Who am I to judge his draft pick when that's the guy they wanted, that's the guy they scouted. They decided to get him in 18. You look at the draft and Flannel Sam, and I think this is what ultimately people have to understand and people have to get excited about. This was not necessarily a great draft. When you look at the talent in this draft, maybe later on in the draft, but top to bottom, this is just okay when we look at the last 5 years worth of draft. This is just an okay draft. There's only 15 first-round grades on the players in this draft. So if you know that going into it and you're like, all right, how about we focus on the guys that we want? What players in this particular draft fit our system the most? Well, here's a running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. If we cannot get Devon Witherspoon, here's a running back that we like a lot, and we can move back to get him. You know what that means? We save money. We can add picks. We added 2 extra picks in the second round because of this pick. So I think they did it the way they did it, and it's going to be a good look.
Well, there's a couple things that I think are very, very interesting, and I'm going to this applies more to the 2 Iowa Hawkeye players that the Detroit Lions drafted. And let's start with Jack Campbell. Yeah. Linebacker was definitely, I would say, a weak point of last year's defense. And coming into this season's defense, you basically had Malcolm Rodriguez and Alex Anzalone. What they're getting in Jack Campbell, if he's not a complete flameout, is probably the best linebacker on their team from day one. Whether you like him or not, whether you think he's important or not, he is going to be the best linebacker on this team. It wouldn't shock me at all, Maz, if he does lead the Detroit Lions in tackles.
He should.
He should. I would expect it 100%. And Sam Laporta. I know last year that the Lions' offense looked better at least they won games when T.J. Hawkinson was traded. Yeah. But still, their tight end room was Brock Wright, James Mitchell, and Shane Zylstra. Sam Laporta is going to come right on the team day one and be the best tight end on the team. You remember that play to Brock Wright where he scored the game winner against the New York Jets? Yeah. Brock Wright kind of looked like he was running in quicksand down the sidelines. Right. I'm just saying, I know that he was all alone, wide open, had nobody near him. But Sam Laporta, he runs a 4.59 40. That's the same 40 time as Brian Branch. That's a faster 40 time than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Juice Landry is faster than
absolutely
Jarvis Landry.
And Ben Johnson, he's a guy that can scheme you open. I could see one or two of those type of plays where Sam Laporta just gets the ball in open space to hit every single game, or at least maybe like 10, 12 times a year. So in that regard, those picks, while initially I wasn't super happy, I understand why they did it, and they did upgrade at least at positions that they were weaker at last year.
Yeah, 100%. And I like Sam Laporta, and you got to think about something you said. You're absolutely right. When they had T.J. Hawkinson, obviously when they traded him, the record got better, but the offense didn't. When they had T.J. Hawkinson early on in the year, that's when the Lions were at the best in terms of their offense. From game 6, that's when they were averaging, 33 points a game, 34 points a game. Now you add Sam Laporta. This is tight end you right now. You look at the tight ends that have come out of Iowa in the last, we'll say, 8 years. These guys can ball in the league, and he's no different. He's been the best tight end in the Big Ten the last 3 years. I watched the game. He's going to be damn good. But the one thing, too, it's about look at where the players were ranked in the draft that we got. Like when you start to look at it like that too, where was in terms of defensive grade, Where was Jack Campbell ranked? He was ranked second behind Will Anderson Jr. Jalen Carter was ranked third. Where was Jahmyr Gibbs ranked? He was ranked the number 1 all-around running back, the number 2 running back in terms of running to Bijan Robinson. You look at Brian Branch. He was ranked the number 1 all-around defensive back in this draft. He was ranked the number 2 safety, if you will. These are great grades going to a draft. So if you're looking at a draft that wasn't that good, everybody's complaining about the players that were available, and you look at what the players that you got, I'm hearing a lot of best all around. I'm hearing a lot of number 2 overall. I'm hearing a lot. So it's a good draft when you look at the metrics of it all.
How does Laporta compare to T.J. Hockenson? What was Hawkinson's numbers coming out of Iowa?
T.J. Hockenson was better than him coming out, but at the same time, I think depending on the system, Laporta could be better. But right now, I'll go with T.J. Hawkinson's better.
Well, they got rid of Hockenson because they don't want to pay him, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. They got rid of one Iowa guy, and they brought in a young version of T.J. Hockenson. Hockenson had one great game as a Lion, and it was against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And everybody was down in that game. He almost got 200 yards in receptions that day.
Yeah.
They just didn't. I don't understand why they just didn't understand how to use him after that. I don't. It boggles my mind.
But is it use him, or is it what you said? They don't want to pay him. Because one thing, the Detroit Lions, they're a very frugal franchise now. They'll pay, but it has to be the right player, and they're not trying to overpay, and they're really not trying to break the bank on playing players. If you look at where T.J. Hockenson has been ranked within tight end, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, in the last 2 years, T.J. Hockenson has been no less than 6 in terms of tight end rank. So if you're going to have to pay him at the end of last season, you're going to have to pay him upwards of, what, $15 million a season? I ain't paying T.J. Hockenson $15 million a season.
I mean, T.J. Hockenson, to be fair, he was a Pro Bowler last year. He did play well with the Minnesota Vikings. He played well statistically with the Detroit Lions. He deserved that Pro Bowl, but at the same time,
he deserved that $16 million though.
No, absolutely not. And that was I was getting to that point. Sam Laporta, he's coming in. Is he going to be as good as T.J. Hockenson? Maybe ever? We don't know that. He could be, but you're getting him on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
It's my favorite stat about Sam Laporta, he put up over 1,300 yards his last 2 seasons combined with Spencer Petras as his quarterback.
I'm telling you.
It's not easy to do.
100%. And then, too, this is a new NFL. Like, at the end of the day, you don't have to be a blocking tight end. You don't. You can get tight ends that block. You want a pass-receiving tight end, and Sam Laporta is a pass-receiving tight end. You put him in the system, he's fast, he can move around, and he gives you that safe bailout option for Jared Goff. Jared Goff has to have a bailout option. You give him Sam Laporta, now the offense is a lot easier. Now you're extending drives because you're getting first downs because you got a guy like Sam Laporta in there. So it'll be a damn good pick for them.
Will he be better than Michael Mayer? Because that's the guy he's going to be compared to for his career, for at least the first couple of years here, because they passed on the Notre Dame kid for him.
Do you want another offensive lineman that can run routes, or do you want a guy that can be that pass receiving route, kind of like George Kittle, kind of like Travis Kelce? And I'm not putting him on that level. Maybe a Dalton Schultz. Maybe that's better. The Dallas Goedert, guys like that. Those guys are essential. Dallas Goedert is essential to what the Eagles do. Dalton Schultz was essential last year for when the Cowboys were having success. And the list goes on with tight ends. Definitely Sam Laporta is going to be there. With them, Michael Mayer, he's a bigger guy. You talked about Brock Wright. This would be another guy running down the field looking like he was in quicksand.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned Michael Mayer versus Sam Laporta, because when the Lions drafted Sam Laporta, I know I was doing a show on Friday night, doing the second round draft show, I believe with Booner, as you guys know. Very smart kid, and up-and-comer himself. And I wasn't super happy about it, but when they drafted Michael Mayer next, again, that was another one where I was a little bit puzzled because I really liked Michael Mayer coming out. And Michael Mayer was one of the best tight ends in college. He was more productive than Sam Laporta, but Sam Laporta had Spencer Petras. That has a lot to do with it. But when you look at the measurables, when you look at the speed, when you look at like pretty much the hand size, all of that, Sam Laporta has Michael Mayer beat in everything except size.
Every category except size
and production. On the NFL scouting, on the NFL.com, when they look at the scouting grades, Michael Mayer was the 15th ranked when it comes to athleticism. Sam Laporta was 3rd.
Oh, wow.
All Michael Mayer really has over Sam Laporta is size and production.
And do we need Jason Witten tight ends anymore? Like, I mean, we're moving into a new era. Like, and I understand Michael Mayer was damn good at Notre Dame. He was damn good in college. But this is the big NFL. This is the big boys now. Guys are faster. Guys are much better. So just. But I will say this. Let me say this. There are some picks. There are some things that when you watch this season, Brad Holmes is going to be under the microscope for a couple of these moves. Jack Campbell cannot be a bust drafting him that high at 18. Sam Laporta, If Sam Laporta struggles and he doesn't look like Michael Mayer looks, that's going to be another one of those picks that you're like, man. So right now, although we support Brad Holmes, he's earned our trust for us to feel that way. And I still like the price points. I like what they did. But at the same time, he is under the microscope because there's still some head scratchers that we need to see for a full season.
Oh, definitely. There's kind of an element of this better work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, the other comparison will be Jack Campbell against Elijah Cansey.
Yeah,
that was another guy that Tampa Bay ran the card up the minute the Lions took Jack Campbell. So that's another guy that I know a lot of Lion fans wanted. Man, we had Dan Miller on yesterday, and I got a kick out of him because he was like, the things I hate about the draft are guys like us and guys like in the chat that we're all GMs. We all know better. We hear a name, Mel Kiper tells it to us, and we lock in on that name. So I'm just interested to see Jack Campbell and Elijah Cansey's careers.
I may not know. I may not be a scout. I may not be a guy that watches film, breaks it down all the time, where I'm in a war room drafting, but I do know this. I know speed. And in 2023 in the NFL, speed is king. And that's what the 18th pick did not have. But I've been watching more film. Ladder was a little better than I thought it was, but we still will see because he damn sure ran 4.65.
Lions fans.
But you know who does have speed? The 12th and the 34th overall pick. And we'll talk more about them when we come up next. And also, thank you, Sheila, for that. I always love that drop. And also, a certain analyst really, really loves a pick that we have not talked about. Fletch, I know that's your guy. I know that's somebody that we've JB, I know that's your guy too. I know, Maz, you like him as well. I can't wait to talk about him. But first, I have to tell you where I get my haircut that has me looking all good, like I always do, because they always do a great job over there, no matter where or who you get it cut by. And you can walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right. 2 cars, 1 for you and 1 for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Can't get enough Woodward Sports content? Head over to woodwardsports.com right now for up-to-date sports articles and great entertainment news. We have the best writers, bloggers, and coverage all at your fingertips. Head to woodwardsports.com right now to experience all Woodward Sports has to offer.
I'm Dr. Jason Olafson, DC, the founder of the Custom Health Centers, and we've helped thousands of people learn how easy it is to lose weight and keep it off with our customized weight loss and body contouring programs.
With Custom Health, you don't feel hungry, you eat well. My name is Simeon Timbuk, and I've lost 71 pounds on the program.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam filling in for Ryan Ermanni. We got Braylon Edwards to my right. Just put up his Darth Vader.
May the 4th be with you.
Absolutely. And we got Tom Mazawey in the Maz chair, JB Smooth in the sound booth, and Fletch on the 1s and 2s. And there's one draft pick that we haven't talked about quite yet today, and it's one that I think most people are happy about, but there's certainly a dividing line for people who are happy with him being picked and people who think he may never play and may be a wasted pick. And that, of course, is the Hendon Hooker selection in the 3rd round by the Detroit Lions. Former NFL player and now analyst Chris Sims, though, he absolutely loves the Hendon Hooker pick. Hear what he has to say.
And when you saw Detroit, coming up the scroll, you said, oh, well, it seems like it makes too much sense. I mean, he'd be that type of guy. He fits the offense they want to run. Really, potentially, he has, more potential than Jared Goff in a lot of ways. So, wow, to get that guy in the 3rd round, where I think a lot of teams, as you know, valued him and looked at him really as a first-round pick, but between age and his knee and the fact that he can't contribute to your team this year right now, I think that hurt him a little bit. And then some people didn't like that offense, which was, another BS complaint about him. But, man, big-time move by the Detroit Lions.
Well, we can tell there that Mike Florio wasn't impressed, but that's all right. And that's the type of commentary that I think should get everyone excited about Hendon Hooker. I remember I was here doing that Friday night draft show. I think I was on with Spencer, and JB was there too. And when the Hendon Hooker pick was announced, we were all very, very excited. And it's for a wide variety of reasons. One, Hendon Hooker was just damn good in college at Tennessee. I keep saying this stat, but I'm going to say it until the cows come home because it's that mind-boggling. In his last 2 years at Tennessee, he threw 58 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. He was on his way to win the Heisman Trophy. And, of course, we can't talk about the Hendon Hooker pick without discussing whether or not we think the Lions should pay Jared Goff because they're intertwined. Braylon, how is this Hendon Hooker pick sitting with you about a week after it was made?
I loved it when it first made it.
Hell yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't like the pick because they see, well, if he's not going to play, then we could have got something out of at that third-round pick because you're looking at all the other picks that are going to play that are projected to start. So you look at it, oh, man, we could have got somebody else that could have contributed this year. Somebody could have started. Look, shut up. And this is why I tell you shut up with that.
Hell yeah.
Last year, he would have won the Heisman Trophy if he does not get injured. The quarterbacks that win the Heisman Trophy usually go first overall, or they get drafted in the first round. Whether it's Baker, whether it's Kyler, whether it's Lamar Jackson, whether it's every quarterback. Bryce Young, 2 years ago, he won the Heisman. These are the guys that are winning the Heisman. They're all going first round. They're all going number 1 overall. So you get a chance to get a guy, and then you say, well, he's old. One of the biggest problems with the kids in the league today is the immaturity. We're talking about freaking Jamison Williams being immature. Well, at 25, you damn sure know Hendon Hooker's not going to be immature. Everywhere he's been, Virginia, Tennessee year 1, Tennessee year 2, he's gotten better and better and better. 58-5, that stat is freaking insane.
It's insane.
Insane. If he's not the quarterback that if Jared Goff works, then so what? Yeah. If Jared Goff works, then that means the Lions work, which means you're winning, which means you're not missing on that third pick. If Jared Goff doesn't work, then that means you got a guy in the stable that maybe he's the answer, maybe he's something different, and you're still building your team. And the third thing, excuse me, maybe he just becomes your backup. Have you ever thought about that? We talk about the Detroit Lions needing a backup quarterback. Who's going to come save the day? Is it Teddy Bridgewater at $6 million? Who's it going to be next year? What if Jared Goff works, and what if Hendon Hooker works as a backup quarterback for us that knows the system, learns the system, and then when Jared Goff, you make a move, you still have Hendon Hooker. I think this is a great move. I think he's a great player, and I don't mind, let's say, missing on the third-round pick that can contribute this year because I think he'll be here. Even if it doesn't work in year 1, 2, and you extend Jared Goff, shoot, Hendon Hooker could be your backup quarterback for years to come.
Hey, the way this team has been built over the last couple of years, they filled up most of the holes.
Yeah.
So going for another rookie, adding to that already almost $70 million that they're going to shell out for rookie contracts, yeah, it would have been nice to have somebody. But you have a possible quarterback saver here. If Jared Goff does not perform in the next couple of years and this kid can come in out of the wings after he learns here for 2 years, what do you got to lose? He's a first-round talent, and I can't trump what Braylon has said.
Yeah.
I like him even better now after what you just told me. I didn't know that record, 59-5.
58-5.
That's you want a winner, right?
Yeah.
If you win in college, you have an opportunity to win in the pros. I love the kid, and he's got a lot to prove. That's what I like even more.
Yeah, touchdown. Those are touchdowns and interceptions, man. That's our apology. Touchdowns and interceptions, but that's winning. 58 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, man. That's called winning. That's winning football.
Yeah, absolutely, 58-5. That's basically 12-1, 11.5-1, and then if you include
the SEC,
including 5 touchdowns, 1 pick against an Alabama team that had Will Anderson and Brian Branch on defense, and Jordan Battle and Eli Ricks. If you want to really go deeper into that, Jahmyr Gibbs on the offense, of course. And the thing is, here's the thing about Hendon Hooker that I think is very, very relevant. And I know, Maz, you will probably – I think I know your answer to this. Is there anything possible that Jared Goff can do that is going to make you want to pay him $50 million a year?
Yeah. Win a playoff game.
Win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Win a playoff game.
$50 million a year, he's got to win. Like, for $50 million a year for Jared Goff, for me to just completely blindly leap into Jared Goff for good, he's got to win the NFC Championship.
And that's
$50 million,
right.
You got to win the NFC Championship and get to the Super Bowl. You don't have to win the Super Bowl, but to pay $50 million, which is now the going rate, to Maz's point, you got to at least get to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, and I would probably agree with you more, Braylon, because Jared Goff, I think he has a lot set up for him to have another good year this year. And I think he definitely has to have at least one more back to make it back-to-back in order to even consider paying him 45 or 50. But the reality is, Jared Goff could play very well, and they might make the playoffs and lose. There's many scenarios in which you could see Jared Goff asking for too much money and the Detroit Lions don't want to pay him. I mean, it's fair. When you look at the totality of Jared Goff's career, he's had 3 Pro Bowl seasons, 3 mid-years, and a horrible rookie year, albeit with Jeff Fisher as his coach. We excuse that completely. And I
you don't like Jeff Fisher?
Not as a quarterback whisper at that point. Jeff Fisher, he had a run in Tennessee. They made a Super Bowl. Steve McNair, he was good then, but Jeff Fisher was clearly...
Rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Rest in peace. But you know what? Also look at it, too. Look at it like this. Remember with the Patriots, when they had Tom Brady. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to make a comparison for Jared Goff to be Tom Brady. But when they had Tom Brady, they drafted Matt Castle. They drafted Jacoby Brissett. They drafted Porno Jimmy.
Yep.
And then what happens?
Love Porno Jimmy.
Tom Brady tears his ACL. What happens? Matt Castle, he comes in and goes 11-3. Wow. And then he ends up getting paid for the Kansas City Chiefs. Look what happens with Porno Jimmy. He comes in and goes, 2-1? And then Jacoby Brissett comes in and goes 2-0. And while Tom Brady is out with the game suspension for Deflategate. So you got to have...
Where are those kids, by the way? No, go ahead.
Well, Jacoby Brissett got paid when he went to the Colts.
I meant the Deflategate guys. They disappeared.
Oh, they're on an island somewhere.
Yeah, they disappeared.
But you see that they had guys in the stable, and they had guys that could do that, and those guys end up being starting quarterbacks. In fact, one of those guys ended up getting to the Super Bowl, and another guy had 2 Pro Bowls. Matt Castle had 2 Pro Bowls with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think you look at it from that perspective, it's good to have a quarterback that could have been a top – you're talking about potential lottery pick. You got him in the 3rd round.
Well, like I said yesterday, Colin Cowherd, I listened to him, and he said – these words about Jared Goff. He thinks he's a top 10, top 12 quarterback right now.
Yeah.
He says his best successes with the Rams is when he had Todd Gurley and a good offensive line. Same thing here with the Lions. They got a running game. They got the best offensive line in the NFC North. He wins 75% of his games when he has all those things going for him. So why the hell not? Why can't he win 75-80% of his games going forward? I'm in his corner, and I'm rooting for him. And why the hell not?
Fletch, you look like you have something to say. I couldn't tell if you were scratching your head or raising your hand. But go off on your boy, Fletch. Go off.
I'm going to sound I watch the morning show basically as much as I'm in here. But they keep on talking about, and I agree with this sentiment, and I think it goes against what Maz was saying, is are you winning because of Goff, or are you winning with Goff?
With.
Like, okay, so he's not worth $50 million then. I'm sorry, but if he's not the reason why you're winning and he's just a part of the reason why you're winning, you've got a bunch of people to pay in the next 3 years. Why am I going to pay the guy that I'm winning with when I've got a bunch of guys that I'm winning because of that I also have to pay?
And that's
I'd rather have that offensive line in some of those defensive players that are going to be gone and pay Hooker a low salary than sit here with Goff on $50 million and then lose with him because he doesn't have all of the things that Maz says he needs to win.
Well, and that's a fair point. And for the record, Jared Goff, they may be able to come up with a deal that's less than $50 million a year. All I know is that Daniel Jones got 40. And if Jared Goff has another great year like he did last year, another
53,
another Pro Bowl level season, I think Jared Goff, given where the quarterback market is now, might be justified in asking for 45 or even 50 or even
more. Not going backwards.
Or even more than that. But the question is whether the Lions want to pay that. And I don't know if there's any scenario. We obviously hope that Jared Goff has a great year, has maybe a couple great seasons, and maybe the Lions do make it to the promised land. But anything short of that, and you definitely have to have some discussions about whether to get rid of Jared Goff, have Hendon Hooker a couple more years in his rookie deal, and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, what have we learned about Brad Holmes in these first, 2+ years that he's been there? He doesn't like to pay a lot. He's going to be very meticulous, very methodical in the players that he brings in, the players he chooses to pay. I mean, hell, we signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, right? Like the second biggest free agent in the draft. How much did he get this year? $8 million. Yeah. Like he's only getting $8 million. I mean, look at Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton had what? I think he was, in terms of efficiency, he was number 3 DB last year. NFL, 3 years, $11 million per year, $33 million. He's not paying guys a ton of money. So if we follow that metric, he didn't just draft Bijan Robinson at 6 because Bijan Robinson was the best player. He said, "To hell with that, I'll move back." So if you look at it from that metric, I don't think they're going to pay Jared Goff regardless of what he does. If we're being honest, I think Hendon Hooker was bought here to be the replacement. You're going to give Jared Goff this year, and you're going to lock and load with Hendon Hooker next year. I don't think Jared Goff will give it because they can't pay. They don't want to pay anybody. Why are they going to pay a guy that they're always trying to figure out? Is he like? We got to keep surrounding him with talent. What other wide receivers can we go get to make this guy happy? What other running backs? What other offensive linemen? The fact that that's the mindset, Jared Goff won't be the quarterback for the Detroit Lions moving forward. It's going to be Hendon Hooker or somebody else.
Unless he wins the Super Bowl, then.
Then he'll just be. Well, then he'll get paid somewhere else.
Ooh.
Then he gets paid somewhere else. Because if you won the Super Bowl, you got the Super Bowl already.
Shoot,
True.
I don't know if I can imagine a scenario where Jared Goff is a Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Lions and he doesn't come back. But I get what you're saying. Hey, Trent Dilfer got carried by maybe the greatest defense ever.
He didn't get brought back though.
And I was happy about that.
I was too, but he didn't get brought back.
Because he sucks.
He does, but he didn't get brought back.
I know.
He was beat up by the time he got to the Ravens, and he got up to a Super Bowl.
With the best
saved their
defense ever.
ass.
And then I played with him like 5 years later. So this
You remember who their quarterback was before him?
Tony
Yes,
Banks.
I do. He went to school up the street.
Yeah. Okay, he saved their ass. So say what you want about him. He got him to the Super Bowl.
He was better than Tony Banks, a quarterback who led the Ravens to 5 straight games without a touchdown?
Yes.
8.
Congratulations, Trent Dilfer.
8.
But and that's even worse.
Yeah. 8.
All right. Well, coming up next, we got even more draft talk because a certain friend of the show and a certain other analyst also had some very, very positive things to say about the Detroit Lions draft. But before, if I need somewhere to go for lunch or maybe even dinner tonight, where should I go, Tom Mazawey?
You know where you're going. It's Strawberry Fest at Big Boy. That's where you start your day. And if you're not into breakfast, that's okay. They got you covered. Let's start with the breakfast. The strawberry hotcakes or the red velvet waffle. And then if you want some lunch or dinner or maybe a snack, you got the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or the refreshing summer splash salad. Don't you dare leave without their desserts. The very delicious strawberry pie. That's a classic, of course. It's been there for years. And the deep fried vanilla Oreos or the strawberry hot fudge cake. All that and more at your local Big Boy.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
You know, one thing that's really, really nice about being the Detroit Lions now and being an up-and-coming team is that you've got analysts actually saying some pretty nice things about the Detroit Lions. And while I think a lot of us, as I mentioned before, were skeptical of some of the picks, this draft is certainly aging pretty well, I would say, especially considering what they did later on in the draft. And a friend of the show and former NFL quarterback and Notre Dame quarterback Brady Quinn, along with CBS's Pete Prisco, had some kind words about the Lions this draft.
Which is a little bit surprising because they did take Jahmyr Gibbs. So
yeah, I didn't like that pick as much as everybody else, but I understand the way they're going to use him. Look, he's the prototypical air back. If you're going to take a back, you take the air back. I get it. I wouldn't have taken him in that spot. I love the rest of their draft. I think Jack Campbell is going to be a star in this league, and everybody pinged that pick on him. I didn't. I was high on Laporta. I was high on Branch. I think taking a shot on Hendon Hooker is outstanding. Broderick Martin, one of the sleepers of this draft class. If you put on his tape, he's a big power player. I watched him. Somebody told me to. And Antoine Green, he's on the better than team, and I think he's going to end up being a better player than people think he is.
The Hendon Hooker pick is interesting, too, because it makes you wonder. I mean, obviously you knew there's going to have to be a period of time where he heals up that ACL, and then how do they, have the conversation with Jared Goff and what that looks like moving forward? I mean, Hendon Hooker had first-round talent. You do think the injury probably played a role in him dropping in the draft.
That was Brady Quinn and Pete Prisco giving some love to the Detroit Lions and the draft. It sound like Pete Prisco wasn't a super big fan of the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, but I get a little bit of skepticism taking a running back at 12. They did trade back to get him, but Jahmyr Gibbs is obviously the best receiving threat of any running back coming out, and I understand that if he becomes an offensive weapon like an Alvin Kamara or even a poor man's Christian McCaffrey, I know that's strong, then the pick will have been worth it. One pick that we didn't discuss at length the last segment, I want to go into Brian Branch really quick. Brian Branch is probably my favorite pick in this draft, and I think it's the one that sat easiest with Lions fans right away. I got some numbers on Brian Branch that I think are going to blow your guys' mind if you don't already know. In his last season at Alabama, and this kind of speaks to his versatility and the fact that he is just an all-around defensive back, Brian Branch had 90 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a whopping 14 tackles for loss from the defensive back position as a guy who played mainly safety and slot corner. In my opinion, the only reason that Brian Branch made it to the second round and became a steal by the Detroit Lions is because he ran a 4.58 40. Athletically and measurably, he didn't wow anybody. I think he's the type of guy that if he runs like a 4.4 40, he might be the second DB off the board after Devon Witherspoon. And the Lions got him at, I believe, 45 in the second round. To me, that was one of the best picks and a steal. What say you, Braylon?
Yeah, not to mention, you look at the school he comes from, the institution he comes from, and the coach. Come on, I don't discount any Alabama players, any Georgia players. If somebody gets drafted, even the school that I don't like down south, any players get drafted from those schools, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Just looking at it, the move with Broderick Martin is one I want to talk about, but I'll get back to Brian Branch. Brian Branch is a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player at Alabama. One of the other big things that affected Brian Branch that hasn't affected, let me say, like a Georgia, is Alabama actually has been on a decline a little bit as it relates to their defensive play, as it relates to their offensive play. You look at the offensive line in Alabama has been stout for years. You look at the defense, that used to be Georgia. What Georgia's doing now, that used to be Alabama. Oh, yeah. So I think when you look at Brian Branch's film, he was him, Will Anderson. It wasn't like it usually is, where it's 2 cornerbacks, 2 safety. You got an outside linebacker, you got a DN. So I think he was on a team that wasn't as good as always. But if he would have been on one of those earlier Alabama teams, this would have been another guy that gets drafted in the first round. What say you, Tom? But Broderick Martin is what I want to talk about.
I love Brian Branch. I told you. I fell in love with the kid because I love how he hung out in Kansas City and had his moment. He came out in the stage the first night. He was in his nice suit like everyone else. Hey, he didn't get picked. Neither did, what's his name from Kentucky?
Will Levis.
Levis.
Or Joey Porter.
Yeah, Will Levis left. Joey Porter, I think he left. This kid hung out. And you only get drafted once in your life. And we hear Braylon all the time talk about his draft and the guys he's met and the guys that are still playing in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers. You only get that. You get one shot in your life to do that. And for him to stick it out, yeah, he took it on the chin. He thought he was going to be a first-round pick. He walks out there as the 40-some-odd pick in the draft with his head up. He gets a loud ovation, gets the hug on Roger Goodell, gets to pose with the crack man and all the Lion fans. I love this kid. I just love his attitude. And what Dan Miller said yesterday, and I'm going to give it to you, Sam, because you weren't here. If you pick Brian Branch 18th and you took Jack Campbell 40, what is it? 45. But you're saying he's a steal, but in reality, even if you jumbled those 3 guys up, you still got the 3 guys you wanted. So was he really a steal at 44? There was a lot of teams that passed up on him. I hope he's going to be a stud, but really, we don't really know if he's a steal.
Yeah, but that's interesting. Yeah, you got like 4 day 1 starters. Go ahead, Braylon.
I was going to say he has a first-round grade. He has first-round talent. He has first-round skill, and he's got first-round stats. So he should have been a first-rounder. So whether people pass on him or not, he is a steal. Like the Detroit Lions got the guy they wanted, but people passed on him. That's their fault. A lot of people passed on a lot of other players that need not be named. But that Broderick Martin pick, and I know we're all over the place. We're still talking about his draft, but Broderick Martin, that's the one that I kind of was, okay, let me see. This is another one that I didn't necessarily know. I had to go home, do some research, listen. It's going to be a damn good pick. Now, he's a project, but you look at what he was, 2-down guy. He's a 2-technique. Man, you put him right next to Lee McNeil, next to Isaiah Buggs, get those guys working with him. The one thing that I saw with his defensive line last year, shout out to the defensive line coach because he's getting these guys really, really going. Look at early on in the year. Look at the defensive line play. Look at later on in the year. Look at the defensive line play. Aiden Hutchinson was much better later on in the year. Isaiah Buggs got those guys going later on in the year. You look at what Pascal did. You look at what obviously Houston was able to do. 9 sacks in 8 games. That's all defensive line coach and scheme as well. So you put Broderick Martin in there with a defensive line that has gotten better game after game after game. He's going to have a damn good year. Look for him to make an impact, not early, but look for him to do something later on in the season, especially next year.
I certainly hope that he makes an impact. One of the, I would say, elephants in the room when it comes to the draft, I think it will be judged to some degree on whether or not Jalen Carter works out for the Philadelphia Eagles. When it comes to both the Seahawks and the Detroit Lions, because defensive line was a position of need for the Detroit Lions and the Seahawks, but we're talking about the Lions. And I think, me personally, that's who I wanted the Lions to pick at 6. I'm not going to speak for you guys. I think the room at Fifth Avenue wanted Jalen Carter, but obviously the Lions passed up on him. But at some point, one thing that kind of surprised me as the draft progressed is they didn't really address the defensive line until Broderick Martin. They eventually had to get one. I remember doing the show, like I said before, and the guy that I wanted at that spot was Double A from Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern.
He was the guy that I wanted. But Broderick Martin, they at least addressed it. Like you said, he's just a guy, a rotational piece on the defensive line, a defensive line which can't allow 300 yards rushing to Carolina again.
My God.
Can't allow a team to
in
not
the first
punt.
half.
It was just absolutely terrible. So they addressed it. I don't know a ton about him. I don't know if he's going to be good or not, but you just need more bodies along that defensive line. So from that standpoint, I'm glad they got somebody. Just don't know if Broderick Martin was the guy.
Definitely don't know if Broderick Martin is the guy. I hope it, but I mean,
traded up to get him.
Straight up there, they traded back up. Man, you're absolutely right. But you know, based on what I saw of this defensive line towards the end of the year, minus that Carolina game, they did tend to get better, and he will get plugged and placed in there. But you know what that's telling you? It's telling you Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they really like the team that they have right now. They really enjoy what they have as it relates to that defensive roster, one in which we saw the first 7 games of the year last year. You're like, they like what they've done in the offseason in the secondary. They like the moves they made in the draft, and we'll just have to wait and watch this thing play out.
And you know what? Maybe also, and this is me being a little bit of a glass half full guy, maybe they trust that guys like Levi Onwuzurike are going to come back healthy. And I know that I know that's a bit of a long shot, but if you remember, let's go back in history a little bit. Levi Onwuzurike was a better prospect than a Lee McNeil.
It was.
Levi Onwuzurike just struggled with injuries. I know it was a back injury, and you never know. And also Josh Pascal, he's another one that he played more than you think he played, but still he had some injuries. He had no offseason. He obviously had that hernia surgery and whatnot. So maybe they trust that they're all going to come back healthy, along with Isaiah Buggs and John Kaminsky resigning Romeo Okwara. Maybe they just wanted a rotational piece on that defensive line, and maybe Broderick Martin can be that guy.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with rotational pieces. I mean, you look at what the 49ers are doing out there in San Fran. They're building, because they have Hargrave, who commands a lot of that salary, but they're putting a lot of defensive linemen, a lot of tackles, a lot of D tackles, a lot of ends, guys on 1-year deal, guys that plug and play, because guys they feel good about because they have Hargraves. I believe you'll see the Lions do something similar to that because they love Aiden Hutchinson and what he's been able to do last year, and a couple other players. They'll start to have plug and plays. That's going to be the new way in the NFL moving forward. It's going to be kind of in that Kansas City Chiefs mindset where it's like, we got Chris Jones, we'll just plug and play the rest of the defensive line. As long as we got one stud on the defense, which is Chris Jones, and one stud on the offense, which is the stud, Patrick Mahomes.
Hey, did they get better?
They got 100%.
Better.
Brian, give me that stat again. Give me the one about tackles for loss out of the secondary position. 14?
14.
My freshman year at Michigan, Larry Foote broke the tackles for loss record at Michigan at 17.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's a consensus All-American linebacker. He had 17. I think Aiden broke it since then, but 14
from the defensive back position. Nobody had a more complete skill set as a DB than Brian Branch, and guess what? He is the Detroit Lions.
On a discount.
On a discount at the 45th overall pick. You know what? We've talked a lot about the draft, but let's talk about some free agencies and maybe go look back at some of the greatest undrafted free agents of all time. We got Hall of Famers on that list. You got people who you won't even remember were undrafted, but first I have to tell you about
Don't forget,
Guardian
Top 10 is coming up.
Alarm. Absolutely. We're going to get to that too. I am excited. I love these type of topics on shows. but Guardian Alarm. It's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Let Guardian Alarm know
The
we
sports
sent you.
marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Cruising on into hour number 2, Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam. We got Braylon Edwards to my right. We got Tom Mazawey in the Maz chair, JB Smooth in the sound booth, and Fletch on the 1s and 2s. And if you can't watch this show live, of course, be sure to check out the podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get them.
All that stuff.
You know what? Check out the website. They've got merch. They've got live shows. They've got replays. It's just everything you could possibly want. WoodwardSports.com. And one of my favorite things to do when I'm on any show is dissect a list. And the 33rd team, because, you know, the undrafted free agents, they're relevant. The Lions have a few themselves, including Mo Ibrahim, a guy that I know we are all familiar with as Big Ten fans.
The other one.
And you know what? Those undrafted free agents, they might turn into something, because we got a list of the 12 best undrafted free agents since 1990. And look at those names. You got Kurt Warner, John Randall, James Harrison, Antonio Gates, Justin Tucker, Adam Vinatieri, London Fletcher, Jason Peters, Brian Waters, Wes Welker, Rod Smith, and Priest Holmes. Every single one of those guys, at the very least, were perennial Pro Bowlers or All-Pros, and I would say at least half of them are Hall of Famers. I know, Braylon, there's a certain name on this list that you think should be higher.
Hey, man, it's Justin Tucker. There's no reason why Justin Tucker should be 5. Listen, Antonio Gates and I have been friends since I was in middle school. He's 2 years older than me. I've known him a very long time. That's my guy. Justin Tucker goes ahead of Antonio Gates. I push James Harrison up to 2. I drop John Randall back to 5. And I make Justin Tucker 3. So I go Kurt, Harrison, Tucker, and then Randall, and then Gates. Okay. That's how I do it. And look, the reason why, Justin Tucker's the best kicker of all time.
Isn't Vinatieri up there?
Get out of here.
Did you forget about him?
I did not forget about
How many Super Bowls has he won?
I have not forgotten about Adam Vinatieri. 2, he made the kick against the Rams, and he made the kick against the Carolina Panthers. 100%.
The main kick he made was the one in the snow against the Raiders.
100%.
2 of them.
100%. But we never talk about him in the regular season.
He's ahead of
Justin. He's not ahead of Justin.
He's ahead of Justin Tucker.
He's not ahead of Justin Tucker.
I think he is.
Justin Tucker's got a Super Bowl too.
I know he does. I love Justin Tucker. I pick him every year in my fantasy team.
He's the best kicker of all time. Like, we're not talking about Adam Vinatieri being the best kicker of all time. You're saying he has the moments as a kicker, and I agree with you. There are players that have extreme moments better than greats, but we're talking about the greatest of all time. Justin Tucker's the greatest kicker of all time. So you can't put somebody ahead of somebody who's the greatest of all time. Vinatieri has the moments, but he does not have the career. He does not have the efficiency. He does not have the All-Pro. Justin Tucker's getting in the Hall of Fame. He will be the next kicker.
Vinatieri's going to go in too.
Off moments. I give you that. Maybe.
Not off moments. Look how long he kicked.
At the end of the day, Justin Tucker is better than Adam Vinatieri.
We're arguing about kickers.
It's the best kicker. But anyway.
I think Robbie Gould is going to be going to the Hall of Fame.
He's not going to the Hall of Fame.
Why not?
Because kickers don't go into the Hall of Fame. And Robbie Gould's done nothing major to go in the Hall of Fame.
He's playing 20 years. He's still kicking.
So Jason Hansen played 20. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
He should be too then.
But he should be. Robbie Gould shouldn't be, though. Like, look, Justin Tucker's the best.
I'm going to do my homework on kickers tonight.
I've done my homework.
I'm coming back.
He's the best efficiency. He's made the most kicks.
Help me out, Sam.
It's nothing to say. Like, I would put Mort Anderson over Adam Vinatieri, and he's not in. I'm going with Justin Tucker, I'm going with James Harrison because he's got one of the most memorable plays in NFL Super Bowl history. They won that Super Bowl, and he won Defensive Player of the Year in 2008, 16 sacks, 2 interceptions, 6 forced fumbles. Look it up. Kurt Warner, obviously, greatest show on turf, went to 3 Super Bowls, won 1. His story is the best story ever. And Antonio Gates is my dog.
His story is like, it's fake. That's how good it is.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Fake. That's how good it is.
It's unbelievable.
Bagging groceries. He got kicked off a semi-pro team.
He was digging for coins in his seats to get gas. He runs out of gas on the side of the freaking road.
Did you watch that? You watched it?
Yeah, of course I watched, but I knew that before that.
I thought somebody was going to die in that scene. I'm glad they did.
Holy God.
This is a Hallmark made for TV movie, but it was good.
Go see that Kurt Warner movie. It's on cable.
Yeah, Adam Vinatieri.
On cable, listen to me.
Great.
It's on streaming.
Sam, way into the moments versus the kicking. Adam Vinatieri was a dude, but Justin's the best kicker of all time.
Justin Tucker is the best kicker who has ever played NFL football. But for the record, I think that Adam Vinatieri, I wouldn't have a problem with him being a Hall of Famer.
I don't mind that, but I'm saying in terms of who's better.
Justin Tucker's better.
Thank you. That's all
I mean, when you're an individual kicker, when you look at percentages, I think it's just as easy as that. And Justin Tucker
has 66
yards. He is the NFL's all-time leading scorer.
Who?
Adam Vinatieri.
Good for him.
That's not good enough?
We only talk about him during the playoffs. You talk about Justin Tucker year round.
He's the reason that Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's the reason that Tom Brady has half his Super Bowl rings.
You've been listening to Rob Parker lately.
No, that's me.
It's a joke. Rob Parker.
I know.
Okay, well, calm down.
I'm with Rob. I'm with Rob. Although Tom Brady is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not stupid here. But without Vinatieri, he's got 3 or 4 Super Bowls.
Well, the funny thing about Adam Vinatieri is I give him more credit for the kick against the Raiders in the snow as opposed to in a dome. Obviously, the stakes were high in the Super Bowl to win it, but still. Yeah, I look at this list. Obviously, you have Kurt Warner, number 1. I think his story, and this is where I think people have a disconnect with me, makes him a little bit historically overrated, but he does have an MVP. I think he has 2, actually. 2 MVPs, a Super Bowl MVP.
Walter Payton, Man of the Year.
He took the Arizona Cardinals to the Super Bowl. I mean,
and should have won.
Probably, yeah.
And should have won.
He threw the touchdown pass to Larry Fitzgerald. That put him ahead. But he also threw that terrible interception to James Harrison.
Hey, look, man. Oh. Well, if Larry Fitzgerald would stop playing peekaboo and tackle James Harrison, he wouldn't have got in the end zone.
That's the funny thing. If
Larry Fitzgerald ran alongside of him for 50 yards.
If they just tackle him in bounds, the clock runs out, the Steelers don't score.
Push him out of bounds.
I know.
Listen, can I just give you some numbers on Vinatieri?
I'd rather take a field goal.
Take a listen to this, Bray.
I'm listening.
4-time Super Bowl champ.
Yep.
3-time All-Pro. 3-time Pro Bowl. NFL scoring leader. NFL decade team. The 100th anniversary all-time team. All-rookie team. Now let's go here. Most career points scored, 2,673. Most seasons played, 24. Most consecutive field goals made, 44 in a row. Field goal percentage, 84%. There's not a better kicker that ever lived than Adam Vinatieri.
Yes, it is, because Justin Tucker's floating in the 90s. Justin Tucker's field goal percentage is in the 90s.
24 years.
Justin Tucker's made 5 All-Pros. Justin Tucker's made 7
I love
Pro
Justin
Bowls.
Tucker.
But you gave me numbers, and I didn't say one word. I'm giving you numbers right back.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, 5 All-Pros, 8 Pro Bowls, and a Super Bowl. And all that other stuff, percentage-wise, most efficient field goal kicker of all time. He's in the 90s.
All right.
Adam 84? How many kicks you missed to be 84?
Oh, God.
He played 24 years. Justin Tucker's in year, what, 10?
He started in the World Football League with the Amsterdam Admirals.
That's not Justin Tucker's problem. Justin Tucker's the best kicker of all time. And guess what, man? He's young. He still has another 10 years.
That's the thing. I love how we're arguing about kickers, but the reality is, if you don't have a good one, it could cost you Super Bowls. It could cost you playoff appearances.
This is true. Well, that's why the 49ers got Jake Moody. But this essentially is Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes now. That conversation, Justin Tucker versus Adam Vinatieri.
That's an interesting one.
Think about it, though.
No, that's an interesting one when it comes to, because Adam Vinatieri's resume is
Because if you're going to give me the Adam
phenomenal.
Vinatieri resume and say, oh, he saved Tom Brady's ass, in that case, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback of all time. Because 3 of those wins came because of Adam Vinatieri.
Hey, you know what? And Patrick Mahomes will be the best of all time someday. But
Justin Tucker's that now.
You know a name on that list that I find to be, I think he's not Wes Welker. There's a name on that list where I find him to be exactly where he should be. I would argue maybe even number 1. And that, of course, is John Randall. People forget about him. John Randall had 9 seasons with 10 or more sacks as the great Professor Rooney would say 9 times. I didn't even know that. I had to look that up, but it is absolutely spectacular. He's one of those names that's looked at as one of the best undrafted free agents ever. And another one, a guy that I've watched and kind of grew up watching, what about Jason Peters? Jason Peters' biggest problem was that he would constantly come down with season-ending injuries.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, he might be talked
That
about.
2010 season was good.
He might be talked about as in a similar room as, say, a Trent Williams. He's not there, but he's definitely, to me, he's a Hall of Famer.
Speaking of overlooking, since we're overlooking, we're talking about guys that were at their peak, guys that were cold, and guys that won championships. That's become the thing we're talking about. How about number 11, Rod Smith?
Yeah.
Rod Smith had 2 Super Bowls. Rod Smith was, you're talking about multiple Pro
He was like
Bowls.
a comet. He came with
100%.
Denver and he just disappeared.
I trained in Denver, and we went to we went to some Nuggets games when I was out there training, and he used to always say, he said, boy, you about to get money longer than train smoke. That was always his term. But Rod Smith was a damn good player. He's got 2 Super Bowls back-to-back.
Super Bowl 33, man.
98,
Could have won the
99.
MVP there, but
Yeah,
obviously
London
giving it
Fletcher
to-
is like up there in terms of most tackles in NFL history. London Fletcher, I think, in the top 5. I think he has more than Ray Lewis. I think if you look at Ray Lewis and London Fletcher's career side by side, they're equal. And I think London Fletcher played more games or something like that.
Yeah, London Fletcher never had the peak that Ray Lewis did, obviously.
He never
because
had the team.
Very few have. Yeah,
Buffalo
absolutely.
Bills when they were terrible. The Washington Redskins when they were the Redskins, they weren't very good. Always bad teams.
Yeah, Rod Smith's an interesting one. I think if you asked John Elway, he would say that was the best wide receiver he's ever played with.
It's the only wide receiver.
The only wide receivers they ever played with. And he won 2 Super Bowls with them. Ed McCaffrey, yes. I remember Ed McCaffrey. He was in my younger years.
Easy Ed.
Yes.
New York Giants.
Yes. And then
go ahead.
one more name that I want to single out because he was, when I was younger, he was one of my favorite players. What about Priest Holmes? Priest Holmes obviously didn't have the longevity. He was hurt.
He was
but
terrific for a few years.
He was as good of a back as there was in the game when in his prime, at least statistics-wise. I know that he had a good offensive line, a good system. Larry Johnson came in right after him and basically put up the same numbers, but he was cold.
If you just look at that Kansas City Chiefs team in that 2000, maybe that 90, like that 98, no, that 99 window till about 2008, if you will, injuries. The X-Man, the greatest kick returner of all time, Dante Hall. And obviously, I love Devin Hester, draft class. He's in the same draft class as me. Yeah, we're in the same draft class. But Dante Hall is the best kick returner, punt returner of all time. Injuries, Priest Holmes, injuries, Larry Johnson, injuries, Dexter McCutcheon, injuries, Jamal Charles, injuries. Like the Kansas City Chiefs deserve what they're getting now with Patrick Mahomes because they had a bunch of really good teams. Dwayne Bowe, injuries. Like they went through a lot of time with a lot of injuries. So the fact that they're getting it going now, but man, Priest Holmes when he was on, he was cold.
No, the Chiefs definitely deserve the success they have.
24 touchdowns.
The success that they have with Patrick Mahomes. Because remember, I know a lot of people don't know this, or I don't know why you would. I think that Jamal Charles still has the record for yards per carry in a career.
I think he does.
He's way up there. And
It's like five. Because Barry is number 2 at 5'4", and I think Jamal Charles is like 5'9", 5'8". It's something dumb.
And you would never guess it, but he was damn good when he played. Coming up next, Braylon's Top 10. I am excited to react to that. I know Braylon's got a good one for us all, but first, I gotta tell you about Custom Health Centers. Are you feeling tired, depressed, or unmotivated? Low sex drive, muscle loss, or belly fat? Testosterone optimization therapy is a safe and effective way to restore your vitality, confidence, and performance, and reduce heart disease. Visit CustomHealthCenters.com today. That's CustomHealthCenters.com, or call them at 877-965-0910. It's on the screen.
Saturdays at 1 p.m. Make sure you're watching WoodwardSports.com for our new show, Chompin' Puck.
He shoots! He scores!
With 4-time Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty and Michael Gentry, Chompin' Puck is taking the Detroit hockey community and giving them a voice. Pros to Joes. You'll get the best Detroit hockey coverage around. Chompin' Puck. Saturdays 1 p.m. on WoodwardSports.com. How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
And welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam, filling in for Ryan Ermanni. We got Braylon Edwards to my right. We got Tom Mazawey in the Maz chair, JB Smooth in the sound booth, and Fletch on the ones and twos. And right now, to give you guys an update on the Tigers-Mets game, for those of you who aren't watching, it's the top of the ninth. The Tigers, off the backs of 2 home runs, one by Riley Green and one by Javi Baez, and a gem by Eduardo Rodriguez, are ahead of the New York Mets 2-0, with Alex Lang looking to close it out.
Side note, stay here. Don't go there. Stay here, though.
Stay here. Absolutely stay here.
Stay here.
I probably shouldn't have done that. But you know what? That's all right. That's all right. We will keep you updated, of course. But Braylon, you know why you should stay here? Because you want to react and see Braylon's top 10. Let's
Is it
go.
me?
It's you.
All right, man. Look, top 10, you know, we do it every Thursday. Typically, come up with a list. I break it down. This list for this week, I thought, hey, you know, since we've had the draft, who are the top 5 teams post-draft, post-free agency in each conference? So we'll start with the AFC. You know I got to leave NFC for last.
Sure.
We got to leave NFC for last. So let's start with the AFC. Fletch, throw it up there, if you will. Top 5 teams in the AFC. Now, I know you don't see the Dolphins on there. I know you don't see the Jets on there. That's because they're on the outside, closely looking, closely monitoring. But I'm going to start with these teams. The Ravens would be 5 for me. They re-signed Lamar Jackson. When he's on the field for the Baltimore Ravens, 76% of his games is what he wins. You can't not have him in there. And obviously, they get Zay Flowers in the draft. You bring in Odell Beckham. You sign Roquan Smith. And then David Ojabo is coming back off injury this year with Dr. Rush as a new defensive line coach for them. Jacksonville at number 2. They address offensive line issues in the draft, Anton Harrison. And they bring in Brenton Sturgis at at tight end. But they're one of the best rosters top to bottom, especially on offense. Trevor Lawrence. When you look at the guys in here, you're going to look at the quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson's the quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Trevor Lawrence, you saw what he was able to do last year, and beating Herbert, coming back from throwing those 4 interceptions, was it, or 3 interceptions?
Yeah, it was bad.
Coming back from it was bad, but I got them at number 4. Number 3, the Buffalo Bills. I got them 3, and the reason why, they took a turn for the worse last year. They started to go downhill a little bit. They didn't look the same without having Brian Daboll there as the offensive coordinator. They didn't have Von Miller in there as well last year. They had a lot of injuries. That's why I have them 3. But they addressed the tight end situation. They went and got Dalton Kincaid in the draft along with Knox. So that's going to be a huge upside for them, as well as Damian Williams, the running back. That's going to be a big pickup for them at 2. 2, the Cincinnati Bengals, they got Miles Murphy, one of the guys that people haven't been talking about in this draft. They addressed their need to rush the quarterback on the opposite side of, what's my guy name for Cincinnati Bengals on the line over there?
Oh, Trey Hendrickson.
There we go. Trey Hendrickson, big number 94 over there. But you bring in DJ Turner, fastest guy in the draft this year out of University of Michigan. Draft him in the 2nd round. That'll add some depth at DB for those guys. And they still got Jamar Chase. And they still got Joe Mixon. Kansas City Chiefs. Do I even need to break down what the Kansas City Chiefs are?
No.
There we go. So this is what I have right now for the AFC post-draft, post-free agency, as it goes to getting into the NFL season. Maz, what you got?
I got no issues with this except at number 5. The New York Jets, to me, are number 5.
The reason why I didn't put them 5 is it looks good on paper. It sounds good. You bring in Aaron Rodgers 100%. He is definitely first ballot Hall of Fame, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But just because you put it together doesn't mean it's going to work. Baltimore's already a system that's been together. Lamar Jackson proven in that quarterback system for the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see. I believe the Jets are going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to maybe even win that division. But as of right now, going into the season, I see the Baltimore Ravens have a little better chemistry with themselves going into the season. Now, the list can change. What do you think about it, Sam?
You know, Maz, you took the words right out of my mouth. Because you know what? I'm obviously on Big D Energy every single day, and I kind of have my battles with Neil Rule about the New York Jets. I am higher on them than most. I'm about as high on them as you are, Maz, because last season, and I've said it before and I will say it again, the New York Jets were competitive for most of the year with Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco's professional corpse out there. They won. I mean, they were in it basically towards the end. I think they won 7 games. So even with competent quarterback play, which they did not get for the most part, I think they might have made the playoffs. And you're bringing in, obviously, an older Aaron Rodgers. He's not what he used to be. He's not what he was when he won
MVP 2 years ago, though. So he's still got it.
He's still very, very good.
He's still got it.
I'm saying. And then you have that roster. You're bringing back the reigning offensive and defensive rookie of the year, Quinnen Williams on the defensive line. You've got Breece Hall, who maybe would have won offensive rookie of the year if he wouldn't have gotten hurt. And you got like C.J. Mosley at the linebacker position. I just think the Jets have one of the better rosters in all of the NFL. And you're bringing in, at least defensively, and you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers. I personally think they could challenge Buffalo for the AFC East. I think their downfall is going to be that they just play in a tougher conference because they're not better than Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. And I love Trevor Lawrence too much to put the Jets team over Jacksonville, but I think the Jets are going to be damn good. They're a threat.
And I don't have a problem with that as well. At the same time, just because you put something together, it does not mean it's going to work right away. And keep in mind, this is going into the season. It's going to change during the season, but how do we know Aaron Rodgers is going to come in there and everything just clicks? Do we know that? Look at that offensive line. Although they addressed it in the draft, they got the best center in the draft. They got a really good left tackle in the draft as well in the 3rd round. So they addressed the offensive line, but we don't know if those guys are actually going to be the stuff right out the gate. So you got to see. But I appreciate you. So what would you grade the AFC right now? What would you grade this list right here?
I would say that the first 4 are pretty much spot on. Obviously, you got Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo. Those are no doubt about it. So I think they're all going to be battling for the crown of the AFC, although I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to ultimately take it. The Baltimore one, I don't agree I would put the Jets, but I understand, and I think you were sound in that. So I would give this a B+.
You want to know what? I think I might move Jacksonville above Buffalo.
Wow.
At this point. Buffalo did not take care of the running backs. They don't have they have Latavius Murray. I think they have Damian Harris.
Yeah, Damian.
They did not draft a running back. I don't understand their thinking to get a first-round tight end when they already had Dalton. Who'd they have? Not Dalton Schultz. They had Dalton Knox. Well, they had another Dalton.
Well, they had Knox, and Knox didn't play that good last year.
Really?
Yeah, Knox didn't play that good for what we were projecting. Going into the season, you look at Knox and you looked at their backup wide receiver. We were like, hey, you know what? They look like the deal, and they were not. They struggled a lot. Whenever you saw Stephon Diggs, when you saw Stephon Diggs injured, or when Stephon Diggs was getting double teamed, they didn't know where to go. They had nowhere to go with the offense. When you look at them in that Miami Dolphins playoff game, when you look at them in the Cincinnati Bengals playoff game, when Diggs was off the board, they didn't have an offense. They didn't have a system. They didn't know what to do. So the fact that I got them on their 3, to be honest, is good for them. So that's why I have them up there. But anyway,
I'm moving them down.
You moving them down? It's still Josh Allen, though.
That is true.
And Von Miller was injured all last season. Von Miller's back. You saw what he did when he played for the Rams 2 years ago.
100%. The problem with Buffalo, too, is they're coming off of what I consider just an unacceptable playoff performance, kind of a mini meltdown. They scored 10 points in the snow at home against the Cincinnati Bengals and pretty much got blown off the field. So they're motivated.
Should have lost to Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins.
I'll tell you what, even if Teddy Bridgewater is there, the Dolphins probably win that game.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are on the outside looking in for me. The Dolphins I actually have slightly above the New York Jets.
Okay.
And they had the David Long.
Hey, if Tua stays healthy, I agree
David
with you.
Long, you added Jalen Ramsey, so I even have them. But we'll see how it plays out. I'll take the B+. I appreciate that. Now, the moment everybody's waiting for, because everybody wants to see where the Detroit Lions are, if they're even in the top 5.
Oh, boy.
Fletch, do me a favor. Throw up the NFC. And here it is. Top 5 teams in the NFC post-draft. I hear Flannel Sam already chopping off at the bit.
You nailed this.
Detroit, we've been talking about them forever. I don't need to talk about why they're 5, but we'll just give you a quick glimpse how they ended the season last year, how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell attacked free agency with the secondary, and then also the draft, the moves they made. We're now understanding more and more. This was probably the best draft in the NFL in terms of intent. They were very intentional on every guy that they got. So they're 5 for me. And the reason why they can't go above Seattle for me, Seattle beat the Lions last year, but it's the offense of the Seattle Seahawks. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba to add to DK Metcalf, to add to Tyler Lockett, to add to K9. And we all know how good K9 is. We saw him score when he was here, and then we saw what he did for Michigan State, and we saw what he did at the end of the season last year. They are number 4, and then they address Devon Witherspoon on the opposite side of Tyreek Woolen. It's starting to feel like LB Part 2.
And
that's the
they
Legion of
drafted
Boom.
K9's partner.
100%.
From UCLA.
Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah,
Zach Charbonnet. And they got a double backfield like the NFL. And then you look at number 3, everybody's like, oh, Dallas. Dallas is going to go up there every year because at the end of the day, they get to the playoffs. They typically usually make it to the second round. You still have a quarterback that can do things when you put the right people around him. Yeah, Stephon Gilmore and secondary in this offseason. You also have Brandon Cooks, who's going to be a good fit. Everywhere he's gone, he's had success. He's successful with the Rams, successful with the Patriots, successful to a certain extent where he got drafted with the New Orleans Saints. So I'm putting Dallas up there. And then I like their draft. Yeah, Mozzie Smith in the middle, Mozzie on the other side of DeMarcus. Oh, my God. And then Micah Parsons. Do I need to say any more? Nope. San Fran. It's so hard with San Fran because their defense and their skill players are so good. But that quarterback situation is the one that always makes you think. But I look at it like this. If Brock Purdy, 7th-round quarterback, was able to come in there and basically go undefeated until he was injured. Sam Darnold and what he did last year, starting off kind of sort of, all he has to do is not muck it up. Correct,
Absolutely,
Sam?
100%.
He doesn't have to muck it up. He's been playing a while in the NFL. He doesn't want to mess this opportunity up. And he's elusive. He's actually a runner. He's a little bit of a runner, kind of sneaky runner. So I think he fits that system. I'm comfortable with putting them at 2. And then they picked up Hargrave in the offseason. I mean, how can you not have their number 2? And then number 1 is Philly. Philly just continues to add Georgia Bulldogs to their team to have success, and they've gotten better, if you believe that. So this is what I have for the NFC. Flannel Sam, what do you think about the NFC list?
I think that you nailed it completely spot on. I will give you an A+ for this one. And you know what?
Take it. Sam's a hard guy to get an A+ from.
And that is true. You know what should excite all of us about this list? Do you see any NFC North teams above the Detroit Lions on this list? No, you do not. But you can't put them above Seattle just yet. I mean, they got Jackson Smith and Jigba in the draft. They're Tariq Woolen. They've got some players too, and they were a little bit better than the Lions last year. They actually made the playoffs. They beat the Lions head-to-head. I would put Seattle above them. And Dallas, like you said, a lot of people just dismiss them because they're the Cowboys, but they added Stephon Gilmore. They got Micah Parsons, one of the best players in all of the NFL. Drafted Mozzie Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs. They re-signed Leighton Vander Esch, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. Dak Prescott, you could argue, is a better quarterback than Jared Goff. I would probably say yes by a smidge. San Fran, like you said, bringing back a lot of the best defense in the league and adding Javon Hargraves. The quarterback position is a little bit iffy, but Brock Purdy played well when he did play. In Philadelphia, obviously, number 1. They represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. And you could argue that out of any team in the draft, they might have had the best one.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, 100%.
Unbelievable.
And there are a couple teams that are close and looking in. I like what the New York Giants have done in the offseason. I like what they did in the draft. They addressed all the needs that they need. They drafted DB from Maryland that was 4'3", one of the fastest guys in the draft. He was the number 3 defensive back. So they addressed that. They addressed tackle in the second round. They addressed linebacker with, I can't think it's Tipton's. But the Rams, watch out for the Rams.
How about Carolina?
Watch out for the Rams. I think they'll win their division. They'll be good, but they'll be one of those. They'll be one of those NFC South type of wins where their records 8-9, 9-8, and they win. But they're going to be a good team in the future. I like it.
If Philly don't win the Super Bowl, you know what they can win? The national championship game with all those Georgia players.
That was definitely a good one. And one thing we didn't mention about number 4, the Seattle Seahawks. I think Geno Smith is only going to get better. I think what he did last year, like he was the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. He won most improved. Obviously, when K9 got hurt, it struggled. But K9 will be healthy this year. And you're adding Jackson Smith and Jigba to the quarterback that was the most efficient and had the best passer rating. Yep. You just gave him the best wide receiver in the draft. So that's another reason why I like Seattle at 4.
They have an embarrassment of riches. We want to talk about DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth
cheating.
Walker. Maybe even what if Zach Charbonnet turns into a good compliment? Wow. That's a damn good offense, along with a couple of tackles that they drafted last year.
How about their defense?
Holy crow. That defense is freaking insane. And then you look at where the NFC West is right now. Arizona with no Kyler Murray to start the season is going to be bad.
Arizona will be the worst team in the NFL.
100%. And then with the Rams, you don't know. Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald and those guys, they had, 8 draft picks this year? So, or not 8, 8 draft picks. So we'll see how it is. But that division is the Seattle Seahawks to take.
100. The 49ers.
I meant to get the wild card spot.
Okay, yeah. You almost got me there.
I don't know, man. Like that quarterback. Hey, listen.
I get it.
That quarterback thing is
Purdy's
real
out for the
interesting.
year.
100%.
He's not playing. So you got Sam Darnold and Trey Lance.
100%. And Sam Darnold, like, yes, we believe that Sam Darnold has learned from his time in the league, and we think that he can not muck it up. But at the same time, he might muck it up because he's done it in the past.
Absolutely. But we need to get to a break. Coming up next, we talked about the draft. I think people have forgotten that there is still free agency period. There are still some players out there that the Lions could possibly get. But first, I have to tell you about Fairway Packing. For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Company has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We aren't quite sure if they consume more beer or sports. Either way, the heavyweights are here. Live on Woodward Sports, daily 5 to 7 p.m.
Back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz on a beautiful Thursday afternoon, May 4th. The Tigers did close out a 2-0 win over the New York Mets with Eduardo Rodriguez getting a win in an absolute gem. One of the best games he's pitched as a Tiger, maybe the best, quite frankly.
Man, he's been pitching
3 in a row
since his hiatus.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, it might not turn out to be a bad deal. It looked like a bad deal at first, but he's pitched pretty damn well, at least this season.
Sometimes you gotta get your house in order, man. Once you get your house in order, then you can go out and make things happen in life.
There you go.
Absolutely. So, Maz, would you like to take us around the NFL?
I would.
Let's
hey,
go.
The schedule, the leaks are already starting. Thursday's coming up, right? Next Thursday.
Yes, sir.
That's when the schedule releases. But I've got your 2 games in Germany, and they are this way. It is the Bears at the Chiefs and the Saints at the Patriots. Those will be the 2 games in Germany. The AFC teams are the home teams this year. The reason I'm bringing that up is because next year the NFC teams will be the home team. And you know who hasn't gone to Germany yet or hasn't gone to London in a while? It's your Detroit Lions, so they might be losing a home game next year.
They dodged a bullet this year.
Yeah.
They dodged a bullet because a lot of people thought that it was going to be the Chiefs and Lions overseas. They thought that was going to be where the Chiefs were going to play the Lions. So the fact that the Lions get to play the Chiefs home base, the domestic side, that's a win for Detroit.
Well, but here's the thing, though, and this is what I kind of was struck by when I first saw. That's what I was exactly going to say.
Arrowhead.
Did the Bears actually catch a break? I don't think there's any chance in hell that they can beat the Chiefs on a neutral field, home, anywhere. But Arrowhead is probably the toughest place to play in the NFL, certainly when you factor in the team that the Chiefs have had. So maybe the Bears caught a break.
Yeah, Arrowhead is tough. Like, even when I play, like, it was the loudest place. And then, obviously, you build CenturyLink. CenturyLink is loud as hell, too, the 12th man to Seattle. But, yeah, Arrowhead is something different out there, man. Nobody wants to play there. It looks like the Lions are.
Oh, man.
Hey, Sam, you weren't here yesterday. We were going over the Lions' schedule, and we put our guesses in. I want to ask you this. Do the Lions open at home or on the road, and do they close at home or on the road? Before I ask you about Thanksgiving.
I am going to say they open at home, close on the road.
Okay.
My guy.
And who do you think they will be playing on Thanksgiving?
God.
Do you need to see the schedule up?
No. I'll make a guess. I'm guessing
I said the Broncos.
Minnesota Vikings.
That's what you said.
That's what I guessed. Last year they played the Bills, so I think it'll be an NFC team this year. But the dark horse, I think, are the Broncos. Yeah, Russell Wilson kind of make it like a national game.
I said Seattle yesterday because I was like, Seattle would be a good one. And Mass pointed out that they're playing the Broncos here. And I was like, you got Deshaun Payton. You have Russell Wilson. This will be the comeback year for the Detroit Lions. So here it is. And I'm like, I could definitely see the Broncos if you're going. But like you said, they typically alternate between NFC and AFC, so it would be the NFC's turn.
It'll be the Fox game.
I still, when I look at that schedule, that home one, there's at least, at the absolute least, 6 wins in there. If you do any worse than that, then the Lions had a disappointing season. They got some tough road games, but that home schedule, if you're a season ticket holder, I think you're going to come home happy way more often than not.
Shout out to Ryan Ermanni, who is now a season ticket holder. I would say 7-1, to be honest.
Hey,
7-1.
5-1 against the conference last year, against the division last year.
100%.
So they got to match that at least. There's a rookie that has already signed his deal, a first-round rookie. He's the first guy off the board, and it's none other than Jalen Carter.
Wow.
The first rookie first-round pick to sign. He gets 4 years, almost $22 million guaranteed with the Eagles. They wasted no time.
The good thing about this is they already have that repertoire or that rapport, excuse me. They have that rapport with Georgia players. So as soon as he got there, I'm pretty sure you saw the pictures of him and Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis. They got Keely Ringo now. Those guys like, look, this team will take care of you. Hire Rosemondale. You get the deal, sign that. Let's get you rocking and rolling so we don't have to worry about those things moving forward. And Jalen Carter, this is a good sign for Jalen Carter, though. You talk about character issues. You talk about what happened before the draft. You talk about what type of player is he going to be. He and his agent basically said, look, we're trying to come in, get signed, and let's start balling. So this is a good sign for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'll tell you what. Jalen Carter was somebody who I think at the absolute worst was the third best prospect in this draft. I would say second, and the Eagles got him at number 9. And this is something that Neil Rule mentioned that I 100% agree with. The Eagles, for some reason, they weren't concerned about character or work ethic or off the field issues. They just said he's the best player. He's going to help our defense. The Eagles have Super Bowl aspirations, and they were like, yep, come in, Jalen Carter, and now they already signed him. That is definitely the player from this draft that I think a lot of teams, including the Lions, including the Seahawks, definitely the Eagles, will look at. If he balls out for the Eagles and there's any sort of questions about who the Lions picked, there might be some, say, fear of missing out.
Before I talked about how I thought about the Lions draft, before I broke down moving back to take Gibbs and the money we saved and all that good stuff, all the stuff we read, first thing I said was what? I will never forgive Brad Holmes for not taking Jalen Carter, number 6 overall. Now, we still had an amazing draft. A lot of people say, you still had a good draft. We'll see if it turns out to be amazing. But I will never forgive him, Sam, for not taking Jalen Carter at number 6. But with that said, I still like what he did after that, if that makes sense.
Hey, before we take a break, one other guy signed a deal. I think you'll recognize him. It's Lamar Jackson.
The camera just like, yeah. Yeah, you just put it down to the paper there. Awesome. Excellent. You good?
Good.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Finally, he said.
Can I say something? I'm going to get this out the way. And this is the last time I talk about the Lamar Jackson contract situation. Good for effing him. Because so many people tried to destroy Lamar Jackson because of this situation. Like, all he ever did was do everything you're supposed to do. He did everything right. And he got torn down because he didn't have an agent, because he didn't finish the last 4 games. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Looked like he didn't have an agent in that video right there, did he? Did he have an agent in that?
No, he did not.
And saved himself between $2.6 and $7.4 million. Lamar Jackson, you and your mom, congratulations.
The best way to quiet the critics is get that deal done.
That bag.
I had some doubts that it would happen. The fact that it did, though, good for Lamar Jackson.
We all had doubts. My big thing, and I gotta get to a break, I just didn't like people coming at him and he hadn't done anything wrong.
That's fair.
Like, that didn't make sense. People tried to tear him down, and you're like, wait, I'm confused. What has Lamar Jackson done?
I think the Ravens were so embarrassed by all the bad pub that they got this deal done now. Because why would they get the deal done now and not earlier? It's the same freaking deal.
And it was before the draft. Go ahead, Sam.
I mean, he's not perfect, but he is the best that they've got. Yeah. If the Ravens came into the season with Tyler freaking Huntley, what do you think they would be?
He's a quarterback that wins 75% of his games.
Yeah.
I mean, 75% of his games he wins. That's the end of discussion.
And they got Huntley, too. They re-signed him. It's a good backup.
Yeah, he's got to prove himself a little bit more in the playoffs, but that's fine. He'll at least get you there.
Could have won a playoff game against the Bengals.
Give me some offensive players and give me some defensive players that want to play and don't get hurt, and we can talk.
Hey, Zay Flowers was a pretty good start.
100%. Let's see him play the whole season.
Yeah, let's see.
Old man Beckham.
Old man Beckham, absolutely. Now, and coming up next, we have to talk about Hunter Dickinson. We've got a huge Michigan fan in myself, and one of the more decorated alums to my right, Braylon Edwards, and Tom Mazawey, another Michigan fan. But first, we got to talk about Cousins Maine Lobster.
You bet, guys. Cousins Maine Lobster brings the best of the Maine coast right here to Detroit. Try their variety of sweet, succulent Maine lobster menu items at their 2 food trucks rolling around the city. You can find their event schedule on cousinsmainelobster.com and through their mobile app, which you could easily order ahead and earn rewards. Click on that QR code. It'll take you right there. It's that easy. cousinsmainelobster.com.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
And welcome back to Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam, filling in for Ryan Ermanni. To my right, we got Braylon Edwards. We have Tom Mazawey in the master, JV Smooth in the sound booth, and Fletch on the 1s and 2s. So we already knew a while back that Hunter Dickinson had entered the transfer portal. But today, it has become official.
It started last night when he put out
Yes.
his thank you to Michigan. And we're not going to read it to you. We'll put it up on the board. But he basically says, hey, this was the place I picked. I love the University of Michigan. I'll always be a Michigan man, blah, blah, blah. And then today, he unloaded this.
Yo, what's up?
Hunt, what's the hold up? You got players, coaches, you got the whole world waiting.
Yeah, you're right. It's time. This decision might even been harder than the first one coming out of high school. You know, having all these coaches hit you up again. You know, then again, it was also kind of easier in a sense, been going through it and stuff. Well, I'm just really glad it's over now. Coach.
What's up, big fella? I am fantastic. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Good.
I just wanted to tell you that I'm going to come play for you next year at Kansas.
Oh, you know what? I was hoping it was going to be good news.
Well, as you can see, Hunter Dickinson transferred to Kansas. He is now a Jayhawk. And Braylon, you mentioned, like, while we were watching it, that that's a pretty good landing spot for him.
Hell yeah. Kansas is a great landing spot with Bill Self. Bill Self won the national championship last year. It was the second one. First one was 2008. It's a great place. It's a great place to learn basketball, go play basketball. At the same time, too, he's going to be a star. They're going to play through him. And it's NIL money, too. You're going to one of those places that pay a lot in terms of blue bloods. Like, you don't get, like, not a lot of times, and this is why I said it may have been easier than coming out of high school. That was a shot. That basically was like, he has Kansas on board. They're a blue blood. They're one of the most, storied franchises, storied schools of all time. So I think this is a big move. I'm not mad at it at all, especially the way Michigan has looked. You talk about it a lot. You are actually in the camp that thinks Juwan Howard should get fired. I'm not going that far, but they definitely have struggled, and I definitely don't like what I'm seeing. Only thing I don't like is as long as, thank you note to the fans and all that other stuff. Look, just say I appreciate the good times. I'm out. I'm going to Kansas. I don't need all this long stuff.
He said he did this, and if you could read it, he basically says, before you guys know, I'm going to make my announcement tomorrow. Before that, I want to write this to you guys. There's a guy out there, his name is Danny Cannell. He used to play college football.
He sucks.
ESPN. He didn't care for this too much, Sam. Why don't you give a read to that?
Dear college athletes, this is from Danny Cannell on Twitter. Please stop with the love letters to your school after you decide to bounce. Sincerely, college fans everywhere. Man, I thought it was kind of funny.
What do you think, Bray?
I think he has a point. I understand why the players do it. I mean, you got to save face, and you also have to make sure you don't burn bridges. You also got to make sure the fans know that you appreciate them. But at the same time, it's kind of like Jordan Addison last year. Like, don't even tell the Pittsburgh fans thanks for all the memories when you're leaving and going to USC after winning the Biletnikoff at Pitt. Although I agree with the move, I agree with the fans too. Shut up and leave. Just shut up and leave. So I understand why they do it. It's to save face. You don't burn bridges. But at the same time, from the fans' point of view, I get it too. You left our school. You don't need to tell us thanks for the memories. We'll see your ass in the tournament.
But what the hell happened at Michigan? I mean, it's like a bare bones cabinet now. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it.
He said, Juwan.
Just a couple years ago, they're in the Final Four.
They were as good of a program between 2013 and 2018 as there was in the Big Ten, and basically
in the country.
I mean, they went to 2 national championship games. Not very many schools did that.
Went to 4 Elite Eights, like 5 Sweet 16s. Yeah,
I mean they were rolling, and the last couple of years they certainly have not been rolling. And from Hunter Dickinson's perspective, to me, I know a lot of people have soured on Hunter Dickinson, but I'm still a fan. I appreciate what he did at the school. Every single year he was at the University of Michigan, he led the team in points, rebounds, and blocks.
That ain't hard.
I mean, but still, he did it.
He did it, and I don't have a problem with Hunter Dickinson at all. Like 2 years ago, he won the Big Ten Player of the Year. 2 years ago, he won Big Ten Player, didn't he?
He was a second-team All-American. I don't know if he was Big Ten Player of the Year, but still,
I think he did 2 years ago. Well, we have to look it up, but I think he did. But if not, it just was last year. Everything about Michigan's program was bad last year. Juwan Howard, the coach, they were bad. Towards the end of the year, it got worse. And then Hunter Dickinson as a player was very, very inconsistent over the last 2 years. So I understand both of them. But I understand both of them parting ways, essentially. And I understand if Hunter Dickinson look at the program and say, this ain't the program that I said, and I use ain't for effect, this ain't the program that I set out to come to. It no longer looks like it did when I was getting recruited by it. So I understand that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, when he first got there, they made the Elite Eight his freshman season, but they also had Franz Wagner and Isaiah Livers.
Yeah.
These last few teams, they were very, very talented, but they were also very, very young. But he was also surrounded by NBA talent.
It's college. Everybody's young.
100%, but we're talking like freshman young.
Okay.
Although Kobe Buffkin wasn't a freshman, he was a sophomore, but he actually balled out. And here's where I defend Hunter Dickinson. I know a lot of people think that he was inconsistent. He had probably the worst game of his career against Central Michigan, which is unacceptable. I stood in that booth on Big D Energy and said F Hunter Dickinson.
They almost lost to Eastern Michigan down at LCA.
They did. I stood right there and I said it and I meant it at the time. But I also, towards the end of the year, apologized to Hunter Dickinson because in the last 3 games of the regular season and in that game in the Big Ten tournament where they lost to Rutgers and scored, I think, 50 points, Hunter Dickinson in those 4 games averaged 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks on 60% shooting, and 60% from 3, 6 of 10. Not high volume, but he knows he's not a great shooter. But when he shot it, he made it. And in that Wisconsin game, he at the time saved their season with that 3-pointer to tie the game. They eventually won in overtime. It eventually turned moot because they lost their next 3. But still, Hunter Dickinson put the team on his back in the last 4 games. If they would have won, they went 1-3 of those games. If they would have went 2-2, I think they're in the tournament. So I always appreciate him. He probably could have done a little bit more, but it wasn't Hunter Dickinson's fault this past season from my perspective.
I won't say it's his fault because a lot of it has to do with the coaching, the reps in terms of what they do in their half-court sets, how they set things up. But you say that he put the team on the back his last 4 games. I give you that, but you know why he put the team on the back his last 4 games? It's because he was applying for a new job. And that job was with the Kansas Jayhawks. And guess what?
It worked.
He might get a natty this year.
100%. Like Bill Self is... For being honest, Bill Self is probably the best coach left in college football. Obviously, it's Bill Self, and you can say your boy Izzo 100%.
He's the top crook, that's for sure.
Okay, true, but he's got what, 2 chips? He's last man standing, I think.
You're right. Coach K's gone. Roy Williams is gone. Jay Wright's gone.
I
mean, who else would even be in the conversation? It probably is Bill Self.
It's Bill
at this
Self.
point.
Yeah, it's Bill Self and Izzo.
Yeah,
last 2 standing.
Patino.
Oh well, yeah.
True.
Calipari.
I've never liked Calipari.
I mean, John Calipari, here's the thing. He's obviously turned Kentucky into probably the best pro sports factory
they
on any
were for
sport.
A second. I think they've fallen off.
They've fallen off a little bit.
Sheway? Like, Sheway's not even going to get drafted.
Sheway's not going to get drafted. He's sort of a relic of big men's past.
DeJuan Blair.
But I'll tell you, that's actually not a bad comparison. I remember DeJuan Blair. He played at San Antonio Spurs.
He did, yeah.
He did. But the thing about Calipari is he won 1 national championship with all that talent.
Should have won 5.
But he only won 1.
Like, I've looked at it. Me and my boy, shout out to Cam. Cam and I, from time to time, we'll look at the recruiting classes, and we look at how, because I think Michigan, when it was the Fab Five, you look at where those guys were ranked. They were ranked 1, 3, 9, 11, and 42.
Something like that.
John Calipari had 5 teams that had 5 guys ranked in the top 10. Let that sit in. Like when Michigan did it with that Fab Five, it was crazy to have that. They've had 4 teams. We got 5 guys inside the top 10 and have not won but one national championship. And the reason why is because Calipari can get the guys. He can get the guys to come to Kentucky, whether it's stuff under the table or whatever you want to call it. He can get the guys to come in. But once they get there, he doesn't coach the guys. He doesn't create half-court sets. He doesn't tell them to play 90 feet of defense. He throws the ball to half court and say, bring me a national championship. You can't win like that.
Only got him one, and that was the Anthony Davis year.
The brow.
Oh yeah, and then Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He was terrible in the NBA, but he was the second overall pick.
How the hell did that Kentucky team lose to Wisconsin?
Oh, that one with Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker and
the twins, the
Willie
brothers.
Cauley-Stein.
Oh my God!
I remember. I mean, not to digress too much, but I was watching that game, and I hate Wisconsin, and I hated Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker and all of them. And when they beat Kentucky, I was devastated.
Yeah, I was too.
I won my pool that year. I had Wisconsin going all the way. Although they lost the championship game. Yeah, they lost the championship game.
Jamil Okafor.
Yeah, but I still wound up winning my pool. I like that Wisconsin team.
Oh, Jesus
They were
Christ.
good. They just should not have beat that Kentucky team, and they should have lost to that Duke team. Michael Jordan drafted Frank Kaminsky.
He did.
That's why he's about to give up ownership.
I mean, give him credit. Frank Kaminsky was a high draft pick. I just didn't like him. What Wisconsin did that year was made me root hard for Duke in the national championship.
Yeah.
And I don't like rooting for Duke for the most part, but I rooted for Duke in that game for damn sure.
I didn't like Wisconsin. Wisconsin it's something about Wisconsin basketball. Wisconsin football, I enjoy because they're very similar to Michigan. To me, I feel like Ann Arbor and Madison are very similar as well. But Wisconsin basketball, I'm like,
who was their coach? Dracula back then.
Eating.
Who was the Dracula coach?
Barry
back then?
Alvarez?
No, basketball. Slick back here. Bo Ryan. Now they got Greg Gord, but he was the assistant. But Bo Ryan could coach, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just hated that style of play so much. But you know what? They did win consistently. Yeah. I will give them that. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little NBA playoffs, maybe get to some NHL playoffs. A big series is going on, Lakers, Warriors. Me and Maz will definitely talk about that. But first, I have to tell you about Les Stanford. Les Stanford has expanded into Ferndale, a trusted name for over 50 years. Les Stanford Buick GMC, same great service that customers have come to know. Go check them out on Woodward, just south of 9 Mile. Of course, looking for a Chevy or Cadillac? Les Stanford in Dearborn. Find the brand you want at their website, lesstanford.com.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Kroger's, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
It's a great time to join Planet Fitness because now through May 10th, you can find your big fitness energy by joining Planet Fitness with their special offer of $1 down and only $10 a month.
$10?
$1? Yes, guys, only $10. I'm telling you. And who wouldn't want to work out at Planet Fitness? With tons of equipment, a full body workout in 30 minutes in a 30-minute circuit, plus all memberships include fitness training. Your fitness is essential and a key part of your physical and mental well-being. So waste no time. Get into a Planet Fitness today, join in club, or as always, check them out online at planetfitness.com.
All right, cruising on into the last segment of the day. As always, time flies when you're having fun. Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. I am Flannel Sam. We got Braylon Edwards. We got Tom Mazawey, Fletch, and JB. And before I get going, if you can't watch this show live, please give our podcast a listen, rate it, review it. You can get it at Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, and check out the website while you're at woodwardsports.com. Check out the merch, check out the shows, the live shows, everything you could possibly want. It's at woodwardsports.com.
We were talking about James Harrison and the undrafted free agents in the NFL. Happy birthday to James Harrison.
How about that?
Today is his birthday. May the 4th be with him.
What a beast he is.
Yeah, he's
still to this day.
He'll always be a beast. Like he's a scary dude.
You ever seen his workouts?
I played against him. I had to watch all that to make sure to see what I was getting myself into. He does stuff that's like he's getting ready for the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like his workouts sound like just to be in shape or even just to be swole, or even be a bodybuilder. His stuff, you're like, oh yeah, he's training for when there's no more gas.
He's like,
he's training for there's
like
no
lifting
more water.
cars almost. This guy.
Yeah, he's crazy. Playing against him, he was the most scary player I ever played against.
I can imagine.
He didn't talk. He didn't speak.
Yeah,
like his looks were menacing. Like it just was like it's like he had no respect for you as a human being, as a player, as an opposition.
He's like
to what
Clubber
he was.
Lang.
He's worse than Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang was kind of funny. Ain't nothing funny about James Harrison. Apollo who? Hello, Pain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was a scary dude, man.
I just watched Rocky 3 again the other day. I don't know why I'm going through them all again.
Smart.
It was bad.
You said it was bad?
It was bad.
But it had some moments, though.
It had very little moments.
No, BS.
I'm a Rocky junkie.
And so am I. Like, legitimately. The first time, before I could talk, I was singing dun 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 dun. Like, I was doing that when I was a kid. That scene in Rocky 3, Rocky's quitting in the ring because he's soft, because he's in his feelings. And Apollo tells him, there is no tomorrow. Yeah. Man, that's one of the lines I live by.
That was good.
Exactly. It's some
when Mickey passed.
Yeah. It was.
Spoiler alert.
That movie came out in 1982. 82.
I certainly hope you're not spoiling Rocky 3 for anybody, but that's all right. I think most of us have seen it at this point.
Hey, Vito dies at the end of the first guy.
Spoiler alert.
Vito dies. Man. Spoiler alert.
Vito dies.
Don't even tell me about Rocky 4, who dies in Rocky 4.
I won't tell you.
God.
Casablanca.
Okay.
Humphrey Bogart, he doesn't get with the woman at the end. I'm just telling you.
I'm going to Rocky 4 maybe later this
Here's
weekend.
looking at you, kid. Here's looking at you.
We are just spoiling movies all left and right on Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. You never know what you're going to get, so that's why you should always tune in 2 to 4 p.m. every weekday. Usually Ryan Ermanni is here, but today it's Flannel Sam. And tonight, Tom Mazawey, we've got Game 2 of the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors. Now, the Warriors, they're in a little bit of trouble. I think if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you're going into Golden State, you already won Game 1, Game 2. At this point, you've already done what you've sought out to do. The Golden State Warriors, it might have been a regular season problem, but they were a very, very poor road team all year. They were 11-30 in the regular season, although they did get 2 against the Sacramento Kings. But if the Warriors drop this game and then have to go to whatever it is now, Crypto Arena in Los Angeles for 2, it's not looking too hot for your Warriors at this point. They got to get Game 2. Are you nervous, Maz? I'm
not nervous. I think they're going to come out strong tonight. I think they'll blow the Lakers out tonight. I'm listening to Braylon from the other night. Hey, LeBron and AD, they did a great job the other night. They're not going to be the same guys tonight. Those old legs will wear down, I think, in the second half of tonight's game. Klay Thompson's got to get going. I don't know what the hell happened to him. I don't think they're going to need a last-second shot tonight. I think Golden State evens it up tonight at 1.
Yeah, Golden State will win this game. Yeah, typically, if you watch what the Lakers have done, they play well in Game 1. They play bad in Game 2. The even numbers. That's because they get a little tired. They get a little fatigued. You know, you look at what AD was able to do going in that first game against the Lakers. Against the Warriors. How much rest was AD coming off of? How much rest was LeBron coming off of? They got to get out of that series with Memphis, so they were able to rest a little bit more. And you saw it in AD. He had a tremendous game, at least in the first half, or the first 2.5 hours of the game. But when you look at what the Warriors typically do or what they've done now, look what they did against Sacramento. They don't mind getting down. They don't mind filling you out. It's kind of like, you know, it's like a fight where you're just filling it out. Like, let me get a feel. Let me see what you do. Let me work around and see what it is. And I think that's what the Warriors have done. Look what they did in the Sacramento series. Look what they did in the Boston series last year in the finals. Like, they got mopped in the first game, with the exception of Steph Curry, who played tremendous with 13 threes or whatever he did. But then they figured it out, and then they got going. Also, remember, Andrew Wiggins is just getting back into the groove of things. He's just getting back acclimated to that system after being out for 3 months. Don't worry. Like you said, Maz, the Warriors will be fine. They will win this game, and then we'll see what happens with the Lakers on the road at Crypto.
I'm pissed at myself
AKA
that I didn't give out.
Staples.
I'm pissed that I didn't give out the Celtics last night as a bet because the Sixers was just a lay down last night. They got their one. The Celtics just blew their doors off. That was such an easy money. I'm sorry, folks, that I didn't open my mouth and tell you. But tonight, get on the bandwagon for the Warriors.
I'll tell you what, though, if you're the Boston Celtics, even though they won Game 2 last night, they blew the doors off of Philadelphia, as you said. They got to be kicking themselves that they didn't go 2-0 at home.
Of course,
to go ahead.
they blew that game.
They blew Game 1 in a game where they didn't have where the Philadelphia 76ers didn't have Joel Embiid. Now you've given up home court advantage. I do trust that the Boston Celtics can win at least one game at Philadelphia, but that was when the team you're facing is missing their best player for one of the games, the MVP, you got to step on their throat. You got to go up 2-0, and now they're only up 1-1. The Sixers, I think they should still feel pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, I think the Sixers are fine. And here's the crazy thing about it. The Sixers are actually really fine. And the reason why is Boston blows people out. They're a different team. Like when Boston blows people out, when they get upwards in the league, they start to really feel themselves. They play well. When Boston are in tight leads, when it's one-score games, they're 13-13 in one-score games. They don't play well when all the pressure's on the line. So if I'm the 76ers, I'm not worried about that blowout game because that's an isolated incident.
Yep, throw that one in the garbage can. Never even watch the film. But yes, I cannot wait to watch the Lakers-Warriors tonight. I'm sure me and Maz will be very, very...
We'll get going on it.
We will watch it very, very intensely, I will say, or I certainly will. I don't even enjoy these kind of games. But that being said, I gotta get to preparing right now. And it is now 4 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for watching Ermanni and Edwards with Maz. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow. I'm thinking Ryan Ermanni will be back, but if he's not, I will be right in this seat as long as they have me. So thank you so much for listening. For myself, Flannel Sam, for Braylon
Riley
Edwards.
Green, 8-game hitting streak.
8-game hitting streak for Riley Green. Eduardo Rodriguez, 8 innings, no runs, and the
he knows what a home run is.
How did Max and
again.
JV do?
Not so good. Well, JV pitched okay, but Max Scherzer certainly got rocked around. And you know what? Justin Verlander was the second best starting pitcher on the field that day. So for Braylon Edwards, for Tom Mazawey, for JV Smooth, for Fletch, I will see you all tomorrow. Tune into Ermanni and Edwards with Maz every weekday 2 to 4 p.m. on the Woodward Sports Network. Peace.
Can't get enough Woodward Sports content? Head over to woodwardsports.com right now for up-to-date sports articles and great entertainment news. We have the best writers, bloggers, and coverage all at your fingertips. Head to woodwardsports.com right now to experience all Woodward Sports has to offer.